former president, his family, and our nation. Jonathan O'Brien, 95.5 WSB.
Coming up, we continue our coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Trump. Live coverage with Chris Chandler and Mark Arum with our ongoing coverage of this history-making event. Live team coverage of traffic and weather is next.
Business owners, it's Eric Erickson. Let me talk to you. Business owner to business owner. You hire a team for their expertise, not for how well they can use their computer. It's common for employees to hesitate to ask for help with their PCs, and that leads to lost productivity and frustration. But with Vision Computers for just $179 a year, professional help is just 15 seconds away. No more waiting, no online chats, no tickets to fill, immediate, friendly, and patient tech support at your convenience. Call them at 404-COMPUTE or go to visioncomputers.com. And don't take their word for it. Don't take my word for it. With over 3,500 glowing reviews on Google, their satisfied customers speak volumes to their quality service and support. Let Vision Computers take the tech troubles off your plate. Visioncomputers.com or call them at 404-COMPUTE to learn more. Your employees, they should focus on what they do best. Leave the computer worries to Vision Computers. For just $179 a year, Vision Computers can let your employees focus on what they do best, and they can focus on your computer worries. 404-COMPUTE, visioncomputers.com.
How does setting the goal to have income for a lifetime sound? It's not a trick question. Many happy retirees create income for a lifetime through income investing. It's a way to harness the power of many different forms of cash flow, including rent, dividends, distributions, and interest. If you'd like help with income investing, you can reach Capital Investment Advisors at yourwealth.com. That's YOUR wealth.com.
Sell your home stress-free this summer with the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. Skip the hassle of a traditional home sale while receiving the strongest cash offer on your home. Hi, it's Chris Chandler. Don't worry.
Speaking of 285, we're heading down to the outer loops. 285 south, we're at Camp Creek Parkway. Exit 2, right lanes down here. Make sure you're being mindful of this as you're getting closer to the 85 interchange. This report sponsored by Wendy's. Wendy's new saucy nuggets are taking nuggets to a whole new level. Choose from 7 different flavors for a whole new way to nug. It's got to be Wendy's. At participating U.S. Wendy's, I'm Andrew Seega, 95.5 WSB.
I'm Channel 2 Action News Chief Meteorologist Brad Nitz. We'll be in the low 90s by midday. High this afternoon, 98, and staying mostly sunny.
83 degrees in Atlanta. Time now to take it on over to Chris Chandler and Mark Arum.
Tina, thank you. This is Chris Chandler, the WSB 20, and we are resuming right now, and it's going to be all day live and local in-depth coverage of the aftermath on the assassination attempts on a former president of the United States, and within days, nominee for the presidency in 2024 as well. Before we do anything else here, we have a new statement that is just in from the former president in the last 5 minutes or so. This has come in even while Tina was speaking. This is from his Truth social media platform, and I'll just read it to you. Thank you to everyone for your thoughts and prayers yesterday, as it was God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening. We will fear not, but instead remain resilient in our faith and defiant in the face of wickedness. Our love goes out to the other victims and their families. We pray for the recovery of those who were wounded and hold in our hearts the memory of the citizen who was so horribly killed. In this moment, it is more important than ever that we stand united and show our true character as Americans, remaining strong and determined and not allowing evil to win. I truly love our country and love you all, and look forward to speaking to our great nation this week from Wisconsin, of course, referring to the Republican convention in Milwaukee, which starts tomorrow. Mark Arum, we had quite an evening here last night as people just shocked to see and hear what had happened and listen to the coverage. Things moved pretty quickly. We're going to be here all day long today to bring people up to date.
Yeah, we're going to continue our in-depth team coverage of the words are still difficult to say. The attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump, a shocking story yesterday. And they say in football and baseball, it's a game of inches. I mean, the former president's life, an inch away, if the assassin's bullet was an inch further to the right or left, we are doing a different kind of show today. We're mourning a former president. So again, I said this last night, just to be thankful that the president is alive and doing well and will be at the Republican National Convention tomorrow in Milwaukee. We got off the air last night with this breaking coverage at 11 p.m., Chris. At that time when we got off the air, we didn't have a name for the suspect, but we do this morning.
We did get it early this morning. Let's just tell you folks what has happened since we were with you last night. Thomas Matthew Crooks has been identified by law enforcers as the suspect. 20 years old, dressed in camouflage on a roof, we're told, something like 130 yards away from where Trump was speaking. He is dead. Motive unknown. He is a registered Republican. CNN is reporting he had also donated money, however, to Democratic-aligned causes. We've no idea on a motive. Law enforcers have been completely silent, at least publicly, on that so far. And other than the name and people having sorted through the voting records, we do not know anything more about this young man. President Biden meeting with his top national security officials this morning. They hinted last night, Mark, as you remember, that we probably would hear from him at some point today. We saw former President Trump not long after we signed off last night. Coming off the airplane, he returned home instead of going to another event as he had planned. The word that we kept getting last night was fine. He is fine. And there is no indication whatsoever that it's anything other than that, anything other than what we're being told. He was still obviously shaken as he came down the steps off the plane, but completely under his own power. The official law enforcement words, Mark, and we were careful right up until we had law enforcement sources saying the same things. The official word is that Trump was shot on the side of the face, at his right ear, and that this is being investigated as an assassination attempt.
Absolutely. And again, as we started our coverage yesterday evening, is still in the haze of this brutal attack. The information wasn't clear yet, and we were waiting for new information. And in this business, reporting on a new story, we wait for confirmation from authorities. It was obvious to our eyes it was an assassination attempt. We didn't know what had struck the former president. Or there was early reporting that maybe the bullet hit the glass of the teleprompter, and the president was hit by shards of glass. What we didn't know at that time was one of the assassin's bullets was a fatal bullet. It killed a man in the crowd. Just went to the Trump rally to support their candidate, and he was killed, and two others critically injured.
Right, and that's the last report still that we have on those other two rallygoers who were wounded. The last report, and still the only report, is that they were in critical condition. The reaction, we took a lot of it here on the air last night, and a couple of our Georgia lawmakers, as they so often do, have made national headlines with some of the things they have said. For the most part, conciliatory, from President Biden down to Governor Kemp and Senator Ossoff, a Georgia Democrat. Conciliatory, decrying political violence is the phrase that's being used, asking people to come together and so forth. We had Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of North Georgia on the air last night. Conciliatory is not the word I would use to describe her comments. And overnight, Republican Congressman Mike Collins of Georgia made a statement, and paraphrasing here, but just barely, he said President Biden actually sent the assassins, which is so far out there it barely bears repeating, but that is his word. So we're going to try to get actually Congressman Collins, Mark, on the phone. We have guests lined up all through the morning. We're here till noon, and then Eric Erickson just after that.
Indeed. And I don't know what you did after the show, after we got off the air yesterday, but I would imagine a lot of listeners like me, I couldn't go to sleep. It was, I continued to watch and listen to coverage of, one of those moments where were you when? That's what we all experienced yesterday. So I went home, and I kept watching the coverage, and I kept watching the video. Multiple video cameras were running when the assassin tried to take out former President Trump. And what struck me was the acumen that former President Trump had. I don't even know if that's the proper word to use it. The raise after being shot. To be able seconds later to gather himself and realize in what moment he was in, and to raise his fist with a bloodied face and yell, "Fight, fight, fight." I don't know about you, Chris, but if I was shot 10 seconds later, I wouldn't have thought to be like, this is a moment
I don't
need.
think I would have wanted to stick my head up the podium. And we're told he asked about his shoes. Make sure they brought his shoes. So that is the state. The man is a fighter.
But the fact that he had the wherewithal to I don't know if anyone else on the planet would have 10 seconds after being shot recognized the moment they were in and said, I've got to show strength here. This is a historic moment. I would have been on the ground and begging the Secret Service to take me off the stage. But the president shot up, put his fist up in the air, blood on his face, and that is the iconic moment that forever, well past this campaign, well past whoever's the next president, that iconic image is forever indelled in American history. Now, I mentioned I kept watching the video and listening to the audio. You have some new audio that we didn't have access to last night. This was from an eyewitness taking cell phone video, Chris?
This is from a local TV reporter there in Pittsburgh, KDKA, Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Who was there in the media pen. We heard Scott McFarland last night. She was right beside him. We talked about this last night. We had the national media footage shown over and over again, but we knew that as the hours went on, there was going to be a lot more coming out. And this is the sound that this reporter captured in the crowd. It is a little different than what we heard last night. It is riveting as well, though. Listen.
He's going down! Stay under here. He's on top of the roof. Don't go over there. He's on the roof, buddy. He's dead. I just seen his hair go up. They shot him in the head. He's dead. Holy well, if they hit anybody over there. Did he pull up a shot? He number of shots. I thought that was ours. No, that was him. The first two shots were him.
He's on the roof right there. He's right there on the roof.
I believe the activist dispatch got much more.
So, Mark, I think this is really a better narrative audio than we had last night, because this is people who are watching what happened instead of a camera simply pointed at the podium. That is a pretty good description of exactly how things went. The sound, those are gunshots. They're shooting him. He's dead. You heard it all in that minute and a half.
Yeah, and the FBI is in that press conference last night, and we expect another one today from the FBI, Pennsylvania State Police, and hopefully we'll hear from the Secret Service as well. They are asking folks that were in attendance to basically drop box them any video or audio they have, even from an hour and a half or 2 hours before the rally actually started, so they can get more information. There's a website set up, fbi.gov/Butler, because Butler is where in Pennsylvania it happened. So, the FBI's analysts are going to be poring over thousands of hours, hopefully, of video that was taken at the event. And as soon as we get more perspective and more video and more audio of the scene, we will certainly bring it to you. I just wanted to highlight, again, Chris Chandler and I, we're going to continue our in-depth team coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Trump. Coming up in the show, we're going to hear from Representative Corey Mills of Florida, a Republican. Chris, he was a sniper in the military, and he has an amazing perspective on what went down, and thankfully wasn't successful yesterday. We're going to hear from Steve Moore, a former FBI agent as well, and Kerwin Swint's going to join us, whom you have on Atlanta's Morning News all the time.
And it's inescapable that politics enters into this discussion, especially now that we know the former president is all right and that part of the story is over. It's the morning after. It's impossible not to look ahead. Mark, before we go to break, it's very important, I think, that we should also mention one big, unanswered, controversial part of this story is the Secret Service response and or lack of preparation for this. I'm no expert, you're no expert, but every bit of punditry that I have heard, including from very experienced top, current, and former law enforcement officials and leaders, is that this sniper from a rooftop never, ever should have been allowed that close.
Indeed. And I mean, there are more unanswered questions this morning than we had yesterday evening, but that is the biggest one. How did this happen? And how can the Secret Service and other law enforcement agencies prevent it from ever happening again?
All right, let's take a break here, I guess, and then we will continue on. Also want to take you shortly to Milwaukee. I'm getting hints here from multiple of the reporters, Mark, who were at that rally yesterday. They didn't want to say it publicly, I guess, but there was considerable talk that he might have made his vice presidential announcement at that rally yesterday. That obviously had the kibosh, so that'll have to wait for the convention next week. Security ups, obviously, and when we hear from Ed O'Keefe, CBS's Ed O'Keefe in Milwaukee, there is some pretty startling criticism of the Secret Service there, to the point where charge of security may be taken out of their hands next week, and that would be a very big deal.
That is indeed. Our in-depth team coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Trump continues. Mark Arum and Chris Chandler here on 95.5 WSB.
8:20 now on the Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Checking on the road work in and around the metro. We're going over to Vining 75 north at Paces Ferry Road, exit 255. Roadwork blocking 2 right lanes here, heading down to the outer loop. 285 south at Camp Creek Parkway, exit 2. A couple right lanes down there as well. Heading out all the way out to Alman, 20 eastbound. Exit 88, looking at a pair of right lanes down there as well. Luckily, speed limit conditions around those cones, so just make sure you're being mindful. I'm Andrew Seco, 95.5 WSB.
I'm Channel 2 Action News Chief Meteorologist Brad Nitz. Mostly sunny, hot and dry today near the record high of 98.
At City of Hope, we are driven to stop lung cancer, to respond to its every change, its every mutation with a new treatment approach, to meet the most complex cases with the latest innovations, to analyze cancer down to its DNA, then fight it with the newest surgical, radiation, and immunotherapies, to never give up, so you can be driven by hope. Learn more at cityofhope.org.
Get ready. Diamonds Direct will forever change the way you shop for jewelry. With over 80 years experience in direct sourcing, Diamonds Direct is finally opening in Atlanta. Customers across the Southeast know Diamonds Direct for their unbeatable selection and prices, but return again and again because of their unparalleled customer experience. The experts at Diamonds Direct are your advocate in the dizzying world of diamonds, ensuring you are nothing shy of confident in your purchase. How do they do it? With the best selection, the best quality, and the best price. In fact, Diamonds Direct guarantees they won't just meet any local price, they'll beat it. So if you can dream it, Diamonds Direct can deliver it. Build your own engagement ring, tap into their custom design studio, or choose from hundreds of ready-to-wear styles. No other jeweler can maximize your budget like Diamonds Direct. Diamonds Direct, coming soon to Buckhead and ready to amaze Atlanta with the best selection, the best quality, the best price, and the best people guaranteed.
822 at WSB.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. And I want to thank the Secret Service and all the agencies, including the state agencies, that have been engaged. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it.
President Biden, in a statement you heard live on WSB last night, I think probably in the 7 o'clock hour during our coverage, he was still in Delaware at that point. He came back to Washington ahead of schedule, returned to the White House. We're told he did actually talk on the phone to Donald Trump, who he referred to a couple times in his comments last night as Donald, which is a far cry, of course, from not the two of them even shaking hands at the debate. We don't know exactly what went on in that conversation. The president getting a briefing at some point this morning. I presume we will hear from him again at some point.
Indeed. It's remarkable how quickly and a historic event like an attempted assassination will change what goes on in the political sphere. But the vitriol between the two candidates, like those two men don't like each other, that's an understatement.
It's not a secret.
And the fact that after this shocking, horrific event in Pennsylvania, that we had the president call his political rival on the phone and talk to him, and the fact that Trump accepted the call. And as you mentioned, President Biden calling him Donald by his first name. I don't think I've ever heard him refer to him as Donald. And again, yesterday, as I said last night, my hope is, because we never, ever want this to happen again, that leaders on both sides will do what they can to turn down the heat politically and tamp down what's been going on in this country, not just in the last 18 months, but for the last 18 years.
And to that end, I will say this, I don't want to sound cynical, and it's not even a criticism necessarily. The statement I read you as we began from former President Trump is, by Trump standards, remarkably conciliatory. There's not a hint of fire, flame, or criticism in it. It is a call for unity, and as we heard from a couple of our Republican lawmakers, even on this station last night, their temptation and first reaction was to not be that generous. But this statement we've just had from the former president notably is so.
Indeed, and we mentioned yesterday, and it's worth reiterating today, every former living president expressed their condolences and called for an end to political violence. We're also hearing from leaders of nations outside the United States, the Finnish president, the German chancellor, Hungary's prime minister, India's prime minister, all condemning the incident. This is India's prime minister, Narendra Modi. He felt he was deeply concerned by the attack on my friend. Quote, strongly condemn the incident. Violence has no place in politics and democracy, he wrote on X. So obviously a huge national story, but the world has been watching this election, and certainly the world paying attention to an attempted assassination of the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party and the former president of the United States.
And some of the Georgia reaction, Governor Kemp, all Georgians rather, join our fellow Americans in mourning the innocent life taken today, praying for the attendees still receiving care. I am deeply thankful for the Secret Service's swift action to keep former President Trump and rally-goers safe. Democratic side, Senator John Ossoff, I join all Georgians and Americans in condemning this despicable act of violence and pray former President Trump makes a full recovery. Senator Raphael Warnock, in America, we settle our political differences democratically, not violently. I condemn any violence aimed at former President Trump. We have reached out, Mark, to both of our U.S. senators from Georgia, and hopefully we may be able to hear from one of them live while we're on the air here this morning.
Indeed, and as we continue our team coverage, last night we're going to replay the audio. CBS congressional correspondent Scott McFarland, who's on my show a lot and on Atlanta's Morning News with you, Chris, he was actually at the rally, had a firsthand account. He's going to join us again live today, the day after, as you say, the morning after. He's had a night to sleep on his experience there, so we're going to have him join us live as well. But I do want to play that audio we heard from Scott. He called into our show last night.
Man, if you folks didn't hear this, it's really something.
It was, he had a front row to history. So he's going to join us live. We've got you covered all day long. Chris Chandler and I will be with you till noon. Then Eric Erickson takes over at noon here on 95.5 WSB. And of course, any new developments, we will break then into the coverage and bring it to you live. Mark Arum, Chris Chandler, 2 minutes away from news, weather, and traffic, and then more of our in-depth team coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump on 95.5 WSB.
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated. Are you sick of all the fancy charts and investment mumbo-jumbo thrown at you to justify the Wall Street fees you're being charged? It's not the size of your nest egg that matters, but rather the income it can produce. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, best-selling author and star in a brand new Hollywood documentary called The Retirement Deception. In this film, we traveled over 20,000 miles interviewing real Americans who have retired successfully with a great lifestyle and peace of mind. They share their stories on how they get more retirement income with the same dollar saved, and the money is never at risk if the market crashes. That's right, if the market market crashes 30%, you lose nothing. Even the super wealthy are shifting money into this new strategy because it increases their retirement income or can allow them to stop working years sooner. So if you are over 50 and want a bigger, better, stress-free retirement, call to talk to a specialist and get a free copy of this brand new movie, The Retirement Deception. 888-471-3896. This is a $30 value, but when you call today, you get it completely free. So don't delay. Call 888-471-3896. Again, that's 888-471-3896.
Recent government figures show that driving now is more dangerous than it has been in years. And we've entered those 100 dangerous days of summer between Memorial and Labor Day where kids are out of school, there's pop-up thunderstorms, and unpredictable traffic patterns. Doug Turnbull for John Foy & Associates. If you get caught up in a wreck, you need an advocate with nearly 30 years of fighting for drivers and winning cases against the big insurance companies. Get that free consult at johnfoy.com. The first hours after your crash are the most critical. Don't wait. And there are no fees unless you win.
Summer is awesome, but two of the worst things that could happen, they drain your neighborhood pool or your air conditioning goes on the blitz. It's Ashley Frasca. Don't sweat it out. Go online to ragsdaleair.com to make an appointment and take advantage of a savings of up to $1,700 off a brand new Carrier home comfort system. And you always get Ragsdale's trusted 15-year parts and labor warranty on your new system. Schedule online now at ragsdaleair.com or give their friendly customer service reps a call. Ragsdale and Carrier, turn to the experts.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
Good morning at 8:30. I'm Tina Douglas. Of course, our top story today is the attempted assassination of former President Trump. We continue to gather details about the assassination attempt on the former president at a rally in Pennsylvania. He was wounded on his right ear, then treated at a hospital and released. He flew back to New Jersey last night. The alleged shooter was shot and killed by Secret Service agents. Another man at the rally was killed while two others were seriously hurt. The investigation has begun, of course, as they try and gather evidence and a motive. The suspected gunman is 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. Searches were conducted overnight at the suspect's home. Early evidence points to the shooter acting as a lone wolf. And we are going to get the most and latest information from CBS.
CBS News special report. Former President Trump grazed by a bullet at a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania.
It sounded like there were fireworks, and everybody kind of hesitated, like, what's happening? Before Trump, swatted his ear, you could see that he actually had that he dropped, and that's when everybody had the initial reaction to drop to the ground.
One spectator was killed, two others critically injured. The Secret Service shot and killed the suspect. Trump is okay. CBS's Samantha Vinograd on security.
There's a coordinated intelligence and law enforcement effort right now to ensure that additional protectees have the resources that they need to hopefully stay safe.
Staying safe at the Republican National Convention.
It has the highest security designation, some manpower unlike any convention before. At least 24 states and the District of Columbia are sending officers to the RNC.
CBS News special report. I'm Linda Kenyon.
And now we're hearing there's a call for an investigation of the Secret Service on whether security measures at the rally venue were enough. President Biden called the former president and said he's grateful he survived this assassination attempt. Live team coverage, traffic and weather is next.
How does setting the goal to have income for a lifetime sound? It's not a trick question. Many happy retirees create income for a lifetime through income investing. It's a way to harness the power of many different forms of cash flow, including rent, dividends, distributions, and interest. If you'd like help with income investing, you can reach Capital Investment Advisors at yourwealth.com. That's YOUR wealth.com.
Mosquitoes bite, but Breda bites back. Scott Slade here. Nobody's better at beating mosquitoes because, one, only Breda will come back and retreat your yard within 30 days, even after rain. Two, Breda will knock down the adults and go after those mosquito eggs to stop future generations. And three, every Breda technician is licensed to safely treat your home. Breda bites mosquitoes back.
Breda, Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
Sell your home stress-free this summer with the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. Skip the hassle of a traditional home sale while receiving the strongest cash offer in the industry. Hi, it's Chris Chandler. I'm here with my friend Mark Spain. Mark, how does the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate eliminate all the stress for the home seller?
Well, selling your home through a traditional way is very stressful because you have costly repairs, you have home inspections, you have appraisals, you have a lot of things that add stress to an already stressful situation. With the guaranteed offer, there are no repairs, there's no showings, there's no lot boxes. It's real simple. We bring you a strong cash offer. You can close in as little as 21 days and move when you want to, on your time.
Thanks to the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, you can skip the hassle of a traditional home sale and move when you're ready. Go to markspain.com and find out what your guaranteed offer will be. There's no obligation. That's markspain.com and start packing.
The time now, 8:34. Live team coverage of traffic and weather. Andrew Seco is in the 24-hour traffic center.
What's going on, Tina? Looking at construction in and around the metro to start your Sunday morning commute. Got a bit of a slow spot on the outer loop in Fulton, 285 south, approaching I-20 exit 10. Roadwork in the right lanes, jamming up just a little bit. Heading over to Vinings, 75 north at Paces Ferry Road, exit 255. Roadwork blocking 2 right lanes here as well. And we head back to the outer loop. This time we're heading south to Camp Creek Parkway, exit 2. Roadwork slowing you down just a little bit as you approach the 85 interchange. I'm Andrew Seco, 95.5 WSB.
I'm Channel 2 Action News Chief Meteorologist Brad Nitz with Atlanta's most accurate and dependable weather forecast. Mostly sunny and very hot today near the record high of 98. Tomorrow will start mostly sunny and 76, 98 in the afternoon again with a partly cloudy sky giving way to some isolated showers and storms. Rain chance Monday at 30%. 40% chance of afternoon storms Tuesday. They'll be scattered, high of 95.
It's 82 degrees in Atlanta. More news at 9 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Tina Douglas, 95.5 WSB.
I see Trump go down. Then I thought, oh my God, they killed him. And I was pretty upset. Then the president stands up and puts his fist in the air, and everybody started screaming, USA, USA.
Which is exactly what happened. Gino, an eyewitness there who was at that rally, this was not one of the huge Trump rallies we have seen. It was big, but it was a more compact crowd. And so those people who were up close were pretty close and not only in danger themselves, as we know from injuries and the death that occurred, but also close enough to see, and some of them rushing to themselves, the former president's aide. We've talked a lot about history. When President Reagan was shot in 1981, he was going from a hotel back door to a car. There were no spectators around. Some of this audio that we're hearing last night and this morning from these spectators sounds a lot more like people who were around Dealey Plaza and saw what happened with President Kennedy. One thing we should note here at 8:36 is that we have no real information about the man, the rally-goer who died, nor about the 2 rally-goers who we presume were shot and critically hurt. This is a doctor who told CBS News he heard the gunshots and tended to the man who had fallen down, he says, between 2 benches. He rushed to his side.
I heard the shots. I thought it was firecrackers to begin with. Somebody over there was screaming, he's been shot, he's been shot. So I made my way over. I said, I'm an emergency department physician. Let me help you. The guy had spun around and was jammed between the benches. He had a headshot here. There was lots of blood, and he had brain matter there. Oh, no. And so I got him. There's a helicopter coming in to get him. I got people there really helpful. I got
Was there only
up
one
on
person
bench.
shot that you saw?
Then I did CPR, did chest compressions as well as I breathed for him.
One person.
I was the only one who did it.
We heard last night from an eyewitness who was standing near the man who was shot and killed. His whole family was there. This witness says the man dropped. He saw him out of the corner of his eye, and he says, and certainly from what this doctor says, you can understand it was clear immediately that the man had passed away. It's 8:37. You're listening to live and in-depth team coverage of the aftermath of the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump last night. Mark Arum and Chris Chandler here. We are live and local all day long with the latest, and we're joined now by our frequent Atlanta's Morning News guest, political analyst, Kennesaw State University, Professor Kerwin Swint. And Professor, I barely know where to start. It seems every week we talk to you, and it is something crazier and crazier, but this is really something.
Yeah, this campaign, this election year continues to make history. Actually, the last several years, it's just been one event after another. This event, I mean, this is a historic event. It's an iconic event, and this is going to dominate the rest of the presidential campaign. The Republican National Convention starts tomorrow, and I can only assume that there are a lot of speakers that are rewriting their speeches today. This is obviously going to be the main topic of conversation, or one of them, and it's going to carry through after the convention, of course, into the fall campaign. One can only hope that one effect of it is that the supporters of both President Biden and President Trump take it to heart, all these calls for unity. I was very happy to see President Biden last night. He struck just the right tone. He called for unity, but also you mentioned earlier in your program, President Trump this morning echoed that and is calling for unity and calling for people to come together. And so that's why everyone wants to see.
Professor Mark Arum here. In the aftermath of an attempted assassination of the presumptive Republican nominee and the former president of the United States, I've got to ask political questions. What does this do to the controversy swirling the Biden campaign for the last couple of weeks since the debate? Does this mute any calls from Democrats for the current president to step down? Has everything shifted so severely that we won't hear that anymore?
Well, it certainly could. The calls for unity for the country, I think there's an element there for unity in the Democratic Party also, and certainly you have a lot of Democrats calling for that. And so this may be the kind of galvanizing event that the Biden campaign, the Biden White House can use to his advantage in their own party, right, to try and unify and get ready for the fall campaign. Republicans, on the other hand, Trump supporters have already been on a mission to return Donald Trump to the White House. Now it's going to be more of a messianic mission. I mean, it's going to be such an intense feeling among Republicans. But Democrats, they have to wage a different kind of fight now. I think it is going to affect the terms, the phrasing. Maybe there'll be less name calling. They're really going to have to watch how they approach what they say. I saw the Biden campaign have taken down their ads temporarily. Maybe some of those ads will now change.
Indeed. Professor, the Republican National Convention, again, begins tomorrow. You mentioned that a lot of the candidates might be rewriting their speeches. Politically, though, as far as the polling is concerned, I don't know, as historic and as tragic as the event was, I can't imagine any Biden voter that voted for Biden last time is going to say, all right, because of this, I'm going to vote for former President Trump now. But I think, if anything, if there were moderate Trump supporters that weren't all in and were debating whether or not to vote at all, they're all off the couch now after yesterday.
Certainly. And so, like I said, this will only drive the turnout factor among Republicans. They will feel more of a messianic zeal to vote now, vote early. It may be effective with some independent voters. Maybe there's some independent voters that are on the fence. We know there are. This kind of event could galvanize their attention to support President Trump. But we'll see in the polls the next few weeks. And, like I've often said, it's the state-by-state polls, it's those swing state polls. And Pennsylvania is a huge one. Pennsylvania could be the state that decides it all. We'll see what the polls look like there in the next few weeks.
842 at WSB, talking live with Kennesaw State University political science professor Kerwin Swint. Pick up something you said when you started, that this will define the campaign from here on out. You think this is it, huh?
I think this is such an iconic moment. I'm sure that Republicans, for example, will use the image of Donald Trump raising his fist in front of the American flag. I mean, that's going to be an image we see, for years now. And that could come to define this campaign. It could even come to define Donald Trump's political career, political legacy. But we're so close to the election now. We're less than 4 months to Election Day. Actually, early voting starts in September in many places. This just has to be such an important imprint on this campaign. We won't know how it unfolds, but I tell you, it's going to be the dominant theme from now on.
What do you make of some of the reaction you have heard? Georgia Democrats have been completely supportive and conciliatory, calling for unity. Some of our Georgia Republican lawmakers have been anything but. They have kept right on with the drumbeat, the same drumbeat they would have issued Friday before this happened. What do you make of that?
People are angry. People are upset. People are still in a state of shock. This just happened last night. And so there are going to be some Republicans who are angry, who will lash out. But Americans in general, Republicans and Democrats, one thing that I think we should all feel optimistic about is that we are pretty good at coming together after traumatic events. You think about 9/11, for example, or some of the other assassination attempts in history. Americans get it. 99 and 9/10% of all Republicans and Democrats want to have a unified, functioning country. And so, that's the good news, I think, is that, we're all going to come together after this. Politics is going to stay politics, and it'll just be a situation where people want to tamp down the rhetoric on both sides.
Kerwin Swint, Kennesaw State University professor, we appreciate your time both last night and this morning. What would you like to add here for posterity, and specifically, what would you say to the people of Atlanta and Georgia?
That you're being well served by your elected officials on both sides. The real traumatic thing, I think, is the person that lost their life last night. You think about going to a political rally and losing your life. I mean, that's the saddest thing to come out of all this, I think. And we all have to remember that person and their family. But like I said, I think we all have to come together. I'm optimistic we will.
Professor Swint, thank you very much. I know we'll talk to you next week again.
You bet. Thanks.
8:45 now. He mentioned this statement from President Trump. Let me read part of it to you. It is notable for the tone it takes. Thank you to everyone for your thoughts and prayers yesterday, as it was God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening. We will fear not, but instead remain resilient in our faith and defiant in the face of wickedness. Our love goes out to the other victims and their families. We pray for the recovery of those who were wounded and hold in our hearts the memory of the citizen who was so horribly killed. In this moment, it is more important than ever that we stand united and show our true character as Americans, remaining strong and determined, not allowing evil to win. I truly love our country and love you all, and look forward to speaking to our great nation this week from Wisconsin at the Republican convention. That is from former President Trump himself within the last 45 minutes. Mark mentioned this earlier. CBS News correspondent Scott McFarland was not only at this rally last night, he was just a few feet away. I think it's safe to say that the bullets flew right over his head before it hit those spectators, killing one of them. I'm going to replay you now Scott's chat with Mark and me. This was last evening, his first-hand, first-person, right-there account.
You understand now during mass shootings why there's a fog of war, why you don't know quite how many there were or how long it lasted, because it does remove you from your senses and your equilibrium. It's disorienting. And a lot of us are still trying to come together with what did you hear? What did you see? But it was an American horror, an unprecedented and unequivocal failure of security at a major American event. We had to go through metal detectors. We had to get our bags searched. We had to get everything wanded and swiped and removed. And the threat appears to have come from outside the perimeter, from atop a building that was in plain sight to all of us through the day. We could see a car dealership. We could see office buildings nearby. Apparently the shooter used that as his leverage.
Scott McFarland joining us live from CBS News on this horrific assassination attempt of former President Trump. Chris Chandler, you had a question for Scott?
Once you realized what was happening, what did you do? What went through your mind? When you could stick your head back up, what did you see?
Kicking myself for taking 5 to 10 seconds to think it over and try to figure out what that noise was. I should have immediately taken cover, but we are on these rafters, these elevated bleachers we stand on to do our reporting for TV. I was about to go on the CBS Evening News moments after this happened, and we jumped beneath the rafters, leapt down to the ground and ducked beneath them. I'm sorry, a table hit me in the head that was holding some of my equipment. But that's what it was, right? And you had thousands of people kind of running into each other, disoriented, trying to find cover where there was no cover. And this is a crowd that got here at 8 this morning to get the good seats, the ones up front, baking in the sun all day. And they were immediately asked to leave. And I'll tell you this, because it's worth mentioning, a lot of them turned on us, started heckling us, blaming us, cursing at us. They ran up to the bike rack barriers that separated us from the public That subsided pretty quickly. And I'll also note that a few of the folks who were heckling the media early in the day, as is common at Trump events, came over to check on us and our well-being and consoled us after, too. And that didn't go unnoticed.
Scott, right now you're looking at a massive crime scene. The FBI is going to come in. Have the Secret Service, the authorities contacted you and CBS News and say, do you have video? Do you have recordings? Is there evidence gathering going on right now?
It's quite possible it's happening off-site, off-scene. I mean, we certainly had our cameras rolling on all of this, as did the other major TV networks. They moved us out pretty quickly. We were able to stay in our position for about 5 minutes after this. Then we were told, get out, too. They had to secure this entire area. They blew whistles to get our attention and then quickly directed us toward the exits. Everybody had to leave. And it took a while to sweep out a few thousand people. Not too long, though, about 10 or 15 minutes. And it is right now a major American crime scene. You know, our equipment's back inside that perimeter, inside that fencing. We're out in the parking lot where it's getting dark, but where there are clearly dozens, scores of law enforcement officers, some of them in paramilitary gear, working their way through.
So that's what you can see right now then. If you're in the parking lot, you're not inside. How long did it take for them to hustle you out? And sort of what's the last thing you saw as you were taken out of the scene? Was it still just absolutely frantic?
Yeah. Those who were not obeying the orders, I saw one man sitting on the ground punching away at his laptop. They put a gun in his face and told him, get out, get out, get out. That'll get your attention.
CBS's Scott MacFarlane, a front row seat to history yesterday in Butler, Pennsylvania. He is going to join us live again at 11:50 this morning as he's had some time to reflect on that assassination attempt. Mark Arum and Chris Chandler, our in-depth team coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump, will continue after a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hear from House Speaker Mike Johnson. He spoke out this morning on the assassination attempt. That's next on 95.5 WSB.
Y'all, it's Eric. When Christy and I first got married, we lived in a house that was built in the 40s. In the summer and the winter, it didn't matter. The wind blew. You could feel it through the windows. They were so poorly insulated. It can make your family miserable. I trust Taylor Construction because Georgia has trusted them for over 50 years. And right now, you can get 75% off installation of a house full of new windows, only available to my listeners. Go to TaylorConstruction.com/Eric today. Get your house in order with Taylor Construction. TaylorConstruction.com/Eric.
We weren't planning on selling our home, but our family's needs changed. I'm Caitlin, and selling our home with the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate was the best decision we made for our family. With over 11,000 five-star reviews, I had peace of mind knowing I could trust Mark Spain Real Estate to sell our home fast and for more than we were asking. If you're preparing to move, check out Mark Spain Real Estate's guaranteed offer. Go to markspain.com and see what their guaranteed offer would be on your home. There's no obligation. That's markspain.com and start packing.
It is hot out there, and your inefficient windows mean high utility bills all year long. Window Nation sells some of the most energy-efficient windows you can buy and was recently ranked highest on Forbes' list of best window installation companies. Right now, for every 2 windows you buy, you'll get 2 windows free, plus 0 down and no interest or payments for 2 years. Stop paying more than you have to. Schedule an in-home estimate right now at 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com.
How does setting the goal to have income for a lifetime sound? It's not a trick question. Many happy retirees create income for a lifetime through income investing. It's a way to harness the power of many different forms of cash flow, including rent, dividends, distributions, and interest. If you'd like help with income investing, you can reach Capital Investment Advisors at yourwealth.com. That's YOUR wealth.com.
When you're looking for leading cardiac care, look to Northside Hospital Heart Institute. We lead with 95% patient recommendations. You could say we're #1 in the heart of Georgia. We lead with 100 dedicated cardiovascular doctors, so you'll know your heart is in the best hands. We lead with compassion, because you are at the heart of our care. Northside Hospital Heart Institute. We lead with heart.
This is Scott Slade with the one name you need to remember if your air conditioning isn't working right. Call Ragsdale. the name I know you can trust. I've been a happy customer for years. And if you're ready for a new AC system, the good folks at Ragsdale are extending savings up to $1,700 off a new Carrier high-efficiency home comfort system. And that includes Ragsdale's trusted 15-year parts and labor warranty. Get top-notch plumbing, electrical, and insulation, too, when you schedule your visit online at ragsdaleair.com or call them. Ragsdale and Carrier. Turn to the experts.
All my life I wore contacts with no problems, and a few years ago my reading gave out and I started having to wear reading glasses. After a while I got frustrated and I went to see Dr. Ashraf regarding my options. Instead of LASIK, I opted for laser optics procedure. Believe me, this is amazing. Most of my day I do not use any glasses, even for reading. As an added bonus, my insurance covered most of the cost.
Hi, this is Dr. Ashraf of the Atlanta Vision Institute. I'm proud to be one of the first physicians to offer the laser optics procedure. This procedure uses LASIK technology to improve your distance vision, but also helps to restore your reading vision. As a matter of fact, most of my patients are able to read a menu or see their phones without the need for reading glasses. So if you can relate to Bill's frustrations, come see me and see if you're a candidate for the laser optics procedure.
If you would like to learn more about the procedure and find out if you're covered by insurance, visit Atlanta2020.com. That's Atlanta2020.com.
Bullets rattled around the grandstand. One hit the speaker tower, and then chaos broke. We hit the ground, and the police converged to the grandstands.
That is witness Chris Takich yesterday at the assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump. Mark Arum and Chris Chandler continue our coverage here. We will continue our coverage throughout the day on 95.5 WSB. Chris, we are hearing for the first time this morning from House Speaker Mike Johnson. He was just on MSNBC discussing yesterday's historic day.
And I spoke to Secretary Mayorkas last night and asked him some pointed questions with regard to Homeland Security and what happened there. I've already announced that Congress will do a full investigation of the tragedy yesterday to determine where there were lapses in security and anything else that the American people need to know and deserve to know.
And just a reminder, Chris, we are still in the investigatory phase of this. This is just hours after this attempted assassination.
And we remind everybody again, I think something that Eric Erickson took pains to mention last night, do not get on social media. I looked at Twitter once and cesspool one, but not a single word of accuracy on there, full of aluminum hat type things. The information we have is scarce. What little there is that's confirmed does not point to almost anything you might see on your Facebook or Twitter.
There was a rumor that the government denied more Secret Service access for the former president on the campaign trail, and the head of the Secret Service came out and debunked that and said, no, there's never been a denial of request for additional service for the Trump campaign.
It's everything from inside job, to Biden ordered the assassins in. Last night, the first photo that was going around as a meme of the attempted assassin, as it turned out, was, you remember last night, an Italian soccer player wearing a beanie. Poor fellow.
Yeah, indeed. The suspect, now deceased, has been identified as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. The FBI at his residency trying to get more information and trying to come up with a motive to know why this would-be assassin did what he did yesterday in Butler, Pennsylvania. All right, news, weather, and traffic 3 minutes away. When we come back, Chris Chandler and I will continue our in-depth team coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Trump. Massive breaking story. Our news coverage continues next on 95.5 WSB.
WSB Atlanta, WSB BFM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
At City of Hope, we are driven to stop lung cancer, to respond to its every change, its every mutation with a new treatment approach, to meet the most complex cases with the latest innovations, to analyze cancer down to its DNA, then fight it with the newest surgical, radiation, and immunotherapies, to never give up, so you can be driven by hope. Learn more at cityofhope.org.
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated. Are you sick of all the fancy charts and investment mumbo-jumbo thrown at you to justify the Wall Street fees you're being charged? It's not the size of your nest egg that matters, but rather the income it can produce. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, best-selling author and star in a brand new Hollywood documentary called The Retirement Deception. In this film, we traveled over 20,000 miles interviewing real Americans who have retired successfully with a great lifestyle and peace of mind. They share their stories on how they get more retirement income with the same dollar saved, and the money is never at risk if the market crashes. That's right, if the market crashes 30%, you lose nothing. Even the super wealthy are shifting money into this new strategy because it increases their retirement income or can allow them to stop working years sooner. So if you are over 50 and want a bigger, better, stress-free retirement, call to talk to a specialist and get a free copy of this brand new movie, The Retirement Deception. 888-471-3896. This is a $30 value, but when you call today, you get it completely free. So don't delay. Call 888-471-3896. Again, that's 888-471-3896.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Get ready. Diamonds Direct will forever change the way you shop for jewelry. With over 80 years experience in direct sourcing, Diamonds Direct is finally opening in Atlanta. Customers across the Southeast know Diamonds Direct for their unbeatable selection and prices, but return again and again because of their unparalleled customer experience. The experts at Diamonds Direct are your advocate in the dizzying world of diamonds, ensuring you are nothing shy of confident in your purchase. How do they do it? With the best selection, the best quality, and the best price. In fact, Diamonds Direct guarantees they won't just meet any local price, they'll beat it. So if you can dream it, Diamonds Direct can deliver it. Build your own engagement ring, tap into their custom design studio, or choose from hundreds of ready-to-wear styles. No other jeweler can maximize your budget like Diamonds Direct. Diamonds Direct, coming soon to Buckhead and ready to amaze Atlanta with the best selection, the best quality, the best price, and the best people guaranteed.
News,
weather,
traffic, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 9 o'clock, I'm Tina Douglas. Our top story, of course, is the attempted assassination of former President Trump. The former president is back in New Jersey after a hospital stay in Pennsylvania following an assassination attempt at a rally in Pennsylvania on Saturday. He's recovering, and the plan is to continue with the GOP convention in Milwaukee, which begins on Monday. Former President Trump posted on Truth Social for the first time since his assassination attempt during a rally in Pennsylvania on Saturday. He thanked people for their thoughts and prayers and wrote, "It was God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening." Trump has a graze wound to his right ear. House Speaker Mike Johnson condemned the attack on MSNBC.
When the message goes out constantly that the election of Donald Trump would be a threat to democracy and that the republic would end, I mean, it heats up the environment. We cannot do that. It's simply not true. Everyone needs to turn the rhetoric down.
President Biden condemned the attack. The shooter has been identified as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. He was shot and killed by the Secret Service. One rally attendee was killed. 2 others are in critical condition. The man that tried to assassinate the former president at a rally last night lived in an area in Bethel Park. Megan Schiller is with KDKA and is in the suspect's neighborhood and has more on the attack.
He opened fire with an AR-style rifle from about 200 to 300 feet away from the rally stage, and we have video showing him positioned on a roof of a building right outside the security perimeter. There is still no motive as to why the shooting took place. How he gained access to the roof of a building adjacent to the rally venue is still unclear. Now a call for an investigation into Secret Service protocols has been called into question. Kennesaw State University political science professor Kerwin Swint talks about the implications beyond the assassination attempt. Will MAGA supporters try to get revenge on Biden?
I don't expect anyone to try and respond violently in any way like that.
And every Republican member of Georgia's congressional delegation has put out statements of support for the former president. Georgia House Speaker John Burns writing on X that he is praying for the safety of President Trump and everyone in attendance following this horrific incident. Those responsible must be held fully accountable and face swift justice. Governor Kemp, all Georgians join our fellow Americans in mourning the innocent life taken today at the Pennsylvania rally and praying for the attendees still receiving care. I am deeply thankful for the Secret Service's swift action to keep former President Trump and rally-goers safe. This attempt on former President Trump's life is horrific and contrary to everything our nation stands for. In America, we settle political disagreements peacefully at the ballot box, not through heinous acts of violence. On the Democratic side, Georgia Democratic Party Chair and Congresswoman Nikema Williams. I'm not sure what just happened, but what I do know is that political violence is never acceptable. Senator Ossoff, I join all Georgians and Americans in condemning this despicable act of violence and pray former President Trump makes a full recovery. I thank the U.S. Secret Service and law enforcement for their swift response. Political violence is never acceptable and can never be tolerated. And we will continue our live coverage of this ongoing story about the attempted assassination of former President Trump. The time now is 9:03.
I've been asked 1,000 times, did you plan on becoming the largest injury law firm in the world? And the answer is no. When I started, there were just 2 of us. Today, Morgan & Morgan has almost 800 lawyers alone. No injury firm in the country has anywhere close to that. We set out to be focused on our clients and to have a commitment to trying cases and winning. And when you have those results at trial, you're able to settle most of your cases quickly and fairly. Reputation matters. We grew like this because we worked hard and so many former clients referred family and friends. And what I believe is the main reason is we delivered for our clients a lot. Hard work and client satisfaction was our plan. It worked. Hope is not a plan. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hey, it's Belinda. Can I ask you a question? When was the last time you had an annual service inspection of your home's plumbing? If the answer is it's been a while, then it might be time to call my friends at PlumWorks, Atlanta's premier residential and commercial plumbers. Not only are they experts in everyday plumbing needs, but they also offer annual inspections to help you catch any small problems before they turn into costly issues. Fast, friendly, and always reliable, PlumWorks is a family-owned and operated company that's been serving Atlanta for over 30 years. Whether it's a plain old leaky faucet, getting a whole pipe replaced, or installing the latest smart home plumbing technology, PlumWorks can do it all. To schedule a service visit with PlumWorks, go to plumworksinc.com or call 404-524-1825. That's PlumWorks, 404-524-1825. Call today or online at plumworksinc.com.
Time now is 9:05. Andrew Seco is in the 24-hour traffic center.
What's going on, Tina? Tracking stuff on the outer loop on the west side. We're going right down the line here, starting at South Cobb Drive, exit 15. Saul just moved to the right shoulder. Got some leftover delays from that brief full closure a little bit further down. We're looking at roadwork in the right lane, 225 south at I-20 exit 10. That extends all the way down. We're at Camp Creek Parkway now at exit 2. Goes to 1 to 2 right lanes here. Luckily, speed limit conditions passing by those cones. So just make sure you got a foot close to the brake pedal. I'm Andrew Seco, 95.5 WSB.
I'm Channel 2 Action News Chief Meteorologist Brad Nitz. We'll be in the low 90s by midday. High this afternoon, 98, and staying mostly sunny.
It's 87 degrees in Atlanta. More news at 9:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Tina Douglas, 95.5 WSB.
I'm Chris Chandler, live in the WSB 24-hour news center with Mark Aram. We continue what will be all-day live and local in-depth team coverage of the assassination attempt upon the life of former President Donald Trump. Mark and I and Eric Erickson did our best to take you through the events as they were breaking last night. If you're just joining us, maybe just hopping in the car to head to church and getting the news for the first time, several things have happened overnight. Most importantly, the suspect has been identified. The dead shooter, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks of Pennsylvania. Very little about him is known. You heard that report in Tina Douglas's newscast from his neighborhood. It doesn't appear much information has been gleaned there. No idea on a motive, no idea why he wanted to do this, how he had the training to at least attempt it. He is a registered Republican. He has donated to Democratic-leaning causes. However, that's not to say this had to do with politics. We simply have no idea what his motivation might have been. We have a new statement from former President Trump himself within this last hour. It is a call for unity. It is not a criticism of anybody. It is not a point of a finger of blame. In part, quote, "In this moment, it is more important than ever that we stand united and show our true character as Americans, remaining strong and determined and not allowing evil to win." The reaction has continued to come in overnight from Democrats, from President Biden on down. It has been conciliatory and calls for unity, like the one you just heard from former President Trump. On the Republican side, it has not nearly been as calling for unity. There has been considerable finger pointing at Democrats, at President Biden. You've heard some of that even on our air here from Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia last night. Representative Mike Collins also has made waves saying, paraphrasing here, that President Biden essentially sent the assassination team to go after former President Donald Trump. We are trying to get Congressman Collins on the air here and speak to him at some point this morning. One spectator dead, 2 critically injured. That is still last report. A big part of the story, Mark Arum, is how this happened. This happened from a rooftop of a building, we're told now, about 130 feet away. He hit some targets. He actually hit President Trump there in the ear. How it is that the Secret Service did not have a wider area, how it is they weren't able to stop him sooner, is something that a lot of people who know about this stuff have questioned overnight.
Indeed, and I watched the press conference late last night, led by the FBI and local Pennsylvania authorities. The Secret Service not at the press conference yesterday, and because this is an ongoing investigation, not much more info released by the FBI. The type of weapon that was asked, that information not released. How many shots fired, that information not released. How this was able to happen was not released. We are expecting another FBI press conference at some point today. We'll carry it live on WSB. Interesting perspective from a Republican Congressman Corey Mills from Florida, obviously in the House of Congress, familiar with Secret Service, but he also served in the military as a sniper. And the question for the congressman is how the security sets building a perimeter, because we keep hearing that the shooter was outside the security perimeter. How does the Secret Service and the law enforcement agencies involved set up that perimeter?
When we go up as a counter sniper, we put together what we call range fans for our range card. We usually keep it right next to us. It's an overlay of the area, usually a satellite image, and it has our 100-yard line, our 200-yard line, our 300-yard line, and we identify the buildings and the areas for potential threat in those so that when you do identify a threat, you don't have to actually what they call milling out, which is to determine the distance of that actual target. You have it within your range fan. You can quickly glance down and say, roughly 200, and you can dial your elevation, look at your windage, make your call, and then fire your shot.
Now, even though the building from which the assassin was located was outside the perimeter, the question is, and in normal procedures, that there would have been a pre-check there where Secret Service advance team would have gone to that building, talked to the building owner, the business owner, and say, hey, we're going to man some folks around this building to make sure. The question is whether that did happen or not from the advance team. And again, I mean, literally just millimeters closer, and we'd be talking about former President Trump. Thankfully, the sniper missed the president and just grazed him. But 1 millimeter difference, it'd be a whole different outcome.
Such a close call.
Yeah, this is Congressman Corey Mills on how close it really was to the
and
president.
We just have to be thankful for the fact that through divine intervention, through a very luck where literally milliseconds and millimeters matter, that this didn't end up a lot worse. And so obviously, I know it's very shaking and rattling for the children of President Trump, also for those around him. But this is a time that is not about partisanship right now. This is not a Democrat, Republican, conservative, socialist. This is an American issue where we just saw a massive security breach that could have resulted in the assassination of President Trump. And we have to take this very seriously, and we cannot in any way utilize dangerous rhetoric. We need to actually hit the cool down button right now and understand that America is better than this, and that we have to continue to pray for all of our candidates and all those who are running for office, because we put ourselves out there Let's take it down a notch to understand what this is really about. It's about unification. It's about ensuring the safety and security of America.
Really wise, calming words there from Republican Congressman Corey Mills from Florida, who, by the way, is a former sniper. What level expertise did this assassin have that he was unable to kill the president from such a short distance?
The bottom line is that I can tell you with absolute certainty, if you put me at 200 yards, we were trained that anything within 300 yards and in, you would only do what they call hollow T's, which is here and here. That is your only mark in which you're actually aiming and shooting for. Anything beyond that, you basically do a center mass shot. When you're talking 230 yards, I will tell you that I can look on target, get on target, and then close my eyes and pull the trigger and still hit a man-sized target silhouette all day long.
The congressman basically saying this was, to paraphrase him, an amateur sniper, an amateur assassin, that if this was a true professional, we'd be mourning President Trump this morning, Chris.
I heard John Miller, the longtime New York police official and TV commentator, saying on CNN last night pretty much the same thing, that if at the very least this young man was a poor marksman. He was wearing camouflage. He was shot dead. There is, by this morning, cell phone video from any number of spectators showing him lying on the roof there. There is one video actually showing the Secret Service sniper engaging with the would-be assassin and taking him out there. 9:13 at WSB here. You're listening to our live coverage of the aftermath of the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. President Biden left Delaware last night after making some public comments, which you heard live on WSB. He's back at the White House. He is getting a national security briefing this morning. He talked to the former president on the phone last night. They said they had a chat, but nobody has disclosed what the contents were. We may hear live again at some point from President Biden himself. About the investigation, we will, in just about 5 minutes here, be joined by ABC News Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Kaczorski. He may have more on at least the Washington, the federal part of what happens next, and what he may be able to tell us that we have not heard yet about what happened last night. There is also the matter of the Republican National Convention, which starts tomorrow in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Delegates, news media, politicians, many of them arriving today. CBS's Ed O'Keefe is there.
The security presence is expected to intensify and expand in the coming hours. CBS's Nicole Scanga reporting from her sources that there will be more of a law enforcement presence here on top of the tens of thousands of federal, state, and local personnel who've been deployed to this city to protect convention goers and the former president. It's a situation being led by the U.S. Secret Service. It's considered a top national security event, just like a presidential inauguration or the Super Bowl, and it will be intensified, we're told, in the coming hours. We don't know yet specifically what that is. One top state official telling me that the Secret Service, again, is responsible for all this, but, quote, surely there will be changes. As for the convention, the show will go on. The Republican National Committee and the Trump campaign in the last hour issuing a statement that reads in part, quote, President Trump looks forward to joining you all in Milwaukee as we proceed with our convention to nominate him to serve as the 47th President of the United States. As our party's nominee, President Trump will continue to share his vision to make America great again. Important to point out, this Butler, Pennsylvania event was seen as a potential spot for him to signal, hint, potentially announce who his running mate would be. That didn't happen. We still need to know who that is, because Monday afternoon, the Republican National Committee is set to formally nominate Trump, and he is to announce and have his running mate announced and nominated as well. So a critical 48 hours in American politics yet to come as we learn the name of the fourth participant, in essence, one of the top four participants in this ongoing presidential race. And to that end, convention goers aware of this, obviously quite disturbed by it. But the resolve appears to be to continue on.
CBS's Ed O'Keefe, he is not that. I've heard multiple correspondents there saying that same thing, Mark, that there had been some hint that he might either offer a suggestion or even name a potential running mate at this rally last night. I don't know if they maybe even had a behind-the-scenes head up, but obviously that went right out the window.
So yesterday when we jumped in here for our breaking news coverage, we were joined by Eric Erickson, and I asked Eric if we had heard from the possible vice presidential candidates yet post-assassination attempt. And Eric went through the list of who has been out there in the ether as could be President Trump's pick. And we heard, aside from Doug Burgum, every other possible candidate was kind of definitely not conciliatory and using this as a a rallying cry and placing blame but Doug Burgum had more of a vice presidential response on social media to this, not exactly calling for unity. But I thought if based on that alone, Burgum had the most appropriate response to the assassination attempt yesterday.
Tim Scott put out a call for unity first and then harshened his rhetoric, seeing which way the wind was blowing, obviously, with some of President Trump's fans and other lawmakers who wanted to go after Democrats for at least indirectly, in their view, having heated up the rhetoric so much that, in their view, that is responsible for this. That is eminently debatable, of course, but you were right. It was almost a horse race last night, and these half a dozen or so running mate finalists to see who could make the most forceful statement.
No doubt. And we'll, of course, cover the Republican National Convention again starting tomorrow throughout the day on 95.5 WSB. It's 9:18. Mark Arum and Chris Chandler continuing our breaking news in-depth team coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Trump. But when we get back from a quick break, we're going to go live to Pennsylvania. ABC News reporter Aaron Kontersky joins us live next on 95.5 WSB.
All my life, I wore contacts with no problems, and a few years ago, my reading gave out, and I started having to wear reading glasses. After a while, I got frustrated, and I went to see Dr. Ashraf regarding my options. Instead of LASIK, I opted for laser optics procedure. Believe me, this is amazing. Most of my day, I do not use any glasses, even for reading. As an added bonus, my insurance covered most of the cost.
Hi, this is Dr. Ashraf of the Atlanta Vision Institute. I'm proud to be one of the first physicians to offer the laser optics procedure. This procedure uses LASIK technology to improve your distance vision, but also helps to restore your reading vision. As a matter of fact, most of my patients are able to read a menu or see their phones without the need for reading glasses. So if you can relate to Bill's frustrations, come see me and see if you're a candidate for the laser optics procedure.
If you would like to learn more about the procedure and find out if you're covered by insurance, visit Atlanta2020.com. That's Atlanta2020.com.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Summer is a lot of fun, but it can also be the most dangerous time on the roads. There's more construction, teen drivers, bikers, cyclists, and more congestion. Hey, it's Doug Turnbull, and summer accidents happen a lot. So if you've been hit, call my trusted team at John Foy & Associates, the Strong Arm. They specialize in personal injury law with a winning track record, taking on big insurance companies, and there's zero cost until they win your case. Call 24/7 for your free case evaluation at johnfoy.com.
Skip the hassle of constant cleaning and costly repairs and sell your home stress-free with a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. Hi, this is Mark Spain, and our offers are the strongest in the industry. You can sell your home stress-free, make the most money, and move when you're ready with a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. One of our clients, Chris, said, Mark Spain Real Estate's guaranteed offer allowed us to sell our 16-year-old home without having to spend thousands on repairs. Their guaranteed offer was more than we were hoping for, and the whole process was fast. Don't worry about the inconveniences of selling your home. The guaranteed offer makes selling your home easy. I've been serving homeowners for nearly 30 years and have helped over 58,000 satisfied clients sell their home. I know what matters most: a quick sale and maximum profit. Find out what your guaranteed offer would be and close in as little as 21 days. There's no obligation. Call 855-299-SOLD or go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing.
I wish people would learn to come in sooner. Unfortunately, by the time they come in our stores, they're almost desperate. They've been struggling trying to find a solution for their problem. They're looking with hope in their eyes. You've got to be able to help me.
You're listening to Beth, an arch support specialist at the Good Feet store.
A construction guy comes in and told me, I'm afraid I'm going to get fired. My feet hurt so bad, I can't do what I need to do at work. You gotta help me. It's unbelievable how quickly the product changes some things for some people.
For over 20 years, we've been helping people live the life they love without letting their feet get in the way.
When you're able to help them work more efficiently, more comfortably, and they're back and doing things that they've been wanting to do, things that they've missed. I go home every day proud of what I've done.
See what we can do for you with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
The Good Feet store. Call 1-800-NEW-FEET or visit goodfeet.com.
We need to dial the rhetoric down, and there's been a lot of rhetoric for the last few months.
We continue to hear from politicians following the tragic breaking news yesterday out of Pennsylvania. That is Louisiana Congressman Steve Scalise, all too familiar with political violence and shootings. Welcome back, Mark Arum and Chris Chandler on 95.5 WSB. Our in-depth team coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump continues now. Joining us live from Pennsylvania from ABC News, it's Aaron Katersky. Aaron, good morning. Thanks for your time.
Good morning. This entire area where the Trump rally was is blocked off. You can't even get anywhere near it. People just dropped everything, including our camera crew. Dropped all their gear, and they haven't been allowed in to collect it. So this is still very much an active crime scene as the authorities try to figure out why this young man from here in western Pennsylvania, 20 years old, was able to fire from a rooftop position with an AR-style rifle. He popped off about 8 shots, the authorities tell us, before he was taken down by a counter sniper from the Secret Service.
20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks has been identified as the sniper, the assassin. He's deceased from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. You're in Pennsylvania, obviously a huge crime scene at Butler where the rally was held. Do we have any idea what's going on at the residence of Crooks over in Bethel Park?
The authorities have been there and to other locations associated with the shooter. We're told they've talked to family members. We're not sure what they've gleaned from those interviews. We're told that he doesn't appear to have obvious social media posts, but they're undoubtedly going through search histories to see if he was steeped in the kind of disinformation and propaganda that's become all too familiar to most Americans through these things. And they want to urgently learn why he did this and then also why he was able to do it. So it's a two-pronged investigation about the shooter himself and then why that rooftop position was available for him to use to fire off his shots, because elevated positions, the authorities are well aware, pose the most danger in these environments. Think about the Las Vegas shooting. Think even about the assassination of President Kennedy, again, from an elevated position.
Aaron Katersky joining us live in Pennsylvania on 95.5 WSB. At the press conference yesterday, we didn't get much information from the FBI and local Pennsylvania authorities. They deferred a lot of the questions to the Secret Service. Have you spoken to any members of the Secret Service? Are they going to hold a press conference today? What's the latest on that side of the investigation?
We expect that we would hear from the authorities at some point today, but they weren't definitive about it, and I think they want, of course, have something to say. So they've identified the shooter and done so publicly. Perhaps they're waiting to see whether they'll be able to say more about motive or what may have motivated him. They're undoubtedly at some point going to have to let people back into the venue to get their belongings. So there will be a logistics piece. And then, of course, everybody wants to know why and why this happened and what the plan is going to be going forward, because I can tell you the Secret Service almost immediately began to reassess security for the Republican National Convention that starts tomorrow in Milwaukee. They're surging resources into Milwaukee just to make sure they have a greater presence, but they're also evaluating some of the events associated with the convention, some of which were scheduled to be in outdoor venues like this one.
Aaron, this is Chris Chandler, also in Atlanta. We appreciate your time. Let me ask you that question about the gunman sort of in reverse. What do we know about him? Because it seems very little here still almost 16 hours later.
Yeah, not a lot. We know he's 20 years old, graduated from a local school. We've seen the graduation photos, and the authorities have been able to talk to friends. Nothing terribly revealing has emerged as of this point. So it's not clear, why. He was a registered Republican, according to available records. Whether that factors into anything, we don't know. But the gun that he used, an AR-style rifle, is common in mass shootings. This would qualify, assuming, as former President Trump says, he was grazed by a bullet. There's 4 victims, so it qualifies as a mass shooting. So whatever else it's a manifestation of, it's also emblematic of the nation's gun violence problem. Although whether he purchased it legally or not, that all remains to be seen. They're still making sure they've collected all the shell casings.
We have about a minute, Aaron. This dearth of social media activity is notable. This has become such an investigative tool and such a media tool as well to sort of delve into the backgrounds of the suspects when these kinds of things happen and delve into what may have motivated them. It's unusual to have none, number one, and number two, that will, at least to some extent, I would think, complicate the investigation.
It may, and the question is, did this kid know it? Did he recently take down some of these social media profiles because he didn't want to be found out? We also know he was not carrying any physical form of identification, so the authorities had to use DNA and other biometric data to formally identify him. Does that suggest a degree of pre-planning? And if so, did he mention it to anybody? All those are just part of the investigative steps now getting underway.
Aaron Katersky, ABC News, joining us live in Butler, Pennsylvania, here on 95.5 WSB. A quick follow-up, Aaron. I listened to the press conference yesterday from the FBI, and they warned folks in the Butler community that there's going to be additional law enforcement presence going around, trying to get more information about what folks saw. What's it look like where you are now? Is there just a massive law enforcement presence?
Well, yeah, there is, but not where I can see it. They've got a whole. It's got to be at least a quarter to a half mile of a perimeter now, right at the intersection of Route 68, which is sort of a main thoroughfare here through Butler. So the venue itself, at this point, I can't even see it. But we know the police are in there and they've got all the roads blocked off. But they did make a pitch, as the FBI often does in these situations, for anybody with an account, with photos, with video. A lot of that's been circulating online, and they're taking a look at all that. But they want to make sure they have the most complete picture possible. The suspect is dead, so the only way they're going to get any information is through these eyewitness accounts and through the video, especially, to see what they can see and hear, maybe more importantly, what they can hear on those videos.
Aaron, just a personal question. We've asked everybody that we have had on so far, so I will ask you. You have covered the campaign. You've covered Trump trials extensively over this last few months, but this, just out of the blue and just absolutely startling.
It's astonishing. Although I have to say we've been talking for years about the toxic political climate in the country, and law enforcement officials have long believed that could result in some violence. They've known that threats against political figures, including judges, the president, members of Congress, those have been surging in recent years to the fact they're almost now commonplace. There's so much security around these individuals, and yet an attempted assassination still shocks, and the Secret Service is trying to get to the bottom of it urgently.
And these lone wolves that we're so often warned about, we can't say for sure what this fellow might have been involved in, but just so hard to prevent or stop.
They're the most difficult, and yet they're the ones that the authorities are most concerned about, because they often do appear out of nowhere. On its face, this 20-year-old does not appear to have a criminal record or anything really noteworthy that would indicate a predicate. There was no indication, at least that authorities have been able to find so far, that he was about to act out. So how do you stop this? Now, the authorities will be investigating whether there were eyewitnesses shouting that, hey, some guy's climbing up to a roof with a gun, and did the authorities act fast enough, and whether that part of the outer perimeter should have been more secure than it was. But even then, the lone offender willing to resort to violence with easy access to high-powered weaponry like an AR-style rifle, that's a worst-case scenario.
Aaron, last question. I know you're just getting there, but can you tell us a little bit about what you may be expecting from there today, who we might hear from, and a couple of the biggest outstanding questions?
Well, I do think we'll hear from the authorities, and at this point it's an FBI lead on the investigation because it's an attempted assassination. That's how it's being investigated. So the FBI is the lead with the Secret Service, although the Secret Service is starting to shift a focus to the RNC. And as I say, they're kind of reassessing the security plan for Milwaukee. And then there is another part of this. Trump was not the only victim. There is someone who was shot and killed, and there were two people who were wounded. And while the suspect may be dead, Pennsylvania State Police and the local authorities here in Butler are going to be handling the homicide part of the investigation.
All right, ABC News correspondent Aaron Katersky, I know that you are extremely slammed there, so we really do appreciate your time this morning. We'll be in touch.
Good to be here, guys. Thanks.
All right, appreciate it very much. Mark Arum and Chris Chandler here, continuing our live and in-depth and team coverage of the aftermath of the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. Couple minutes behind here. We did want to have as much time with Aaron as we could because he's on the scene. Indeed. Right there.
Let me just jump in,
sure.
Chris. So because we went long, we apologize. We've extended the newscast time. So what we're going to do is here quickly, we're going to check traffic. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back with our exclusive team coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Again, we're using our resources. We're going to talk to more reporters in Pennsylvania, more reaction from lawmakers around the world. In fact, in the aftermath of this truly historic situation yesterday in Butler, Pennsylvania. It's 9:33 on 95.5 WSB.
We're at 285 South. I-20 at exit 10. As you go a little bit further down on the outer loop in Fulton, you're going to run into two right lanes blocked at Camp Creek Parkway, exit 2. Up on the north side in Dunwoody, got cones across the right lane on the exit to Chamblee Dunwoody Road, exit 30 from the outer loop 285 westbound. I'm Andrew Seco, 95.5 WSB.
Summer is a lot of fun, but it can also be the most dangerous time on the roads. There's more construction, teen drivers, bikers, cyclists, and more congestion. Hey, it's Doug Turnbull, and summer accidents happen a lot. So if you've been hit, call my trusted team at John Foy & Associates, the Strong Arm. They specialize in personal injury law with a winning track record, taking on big insurance companies, and there's zero cost until they win your case. Call 24/7 for your free case evaluation at johnfoy.com.
I wish people would learn to come in sooner. Unfortunately, by the time they come in our stores, they're almost desperate. They've been struggling trying to find a solution for their problem. They're looking with hope in their eyes. You've got to be able to help me.
You're listening to Beth, an arch support specialist at the Good Feet store.
A construction guy comes in and told me, I'm afraid I'm going to get fired. My feet hurt so bad, I can't do what I need to do at work. You gotta help me. It's unbelievable how quickly the product changes some things for some people.
For over 20 years, we've been helping people live the life they love without letting their feet get in the way.
When you're able to help them work more efficiently, more comfortably, and they're back and doing things that they've been wanting to do, things that they've missed. I go home every day proud of what I've done.
See what we can do for you with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
The Good Feet store. Call 1-800-NEW-FEET or visit goodfeet.com.
9:35 at WSB.
Oh my gosh. Okay?
Yes, don't.
We're okay.
CBS News campaign reporter Olivia Rinaldi was in the media area. This was between the building from where the shots was fired and the stage on which President Trump was standing. The bullets literally flew over their head. They ducked for cover. You heard Scott McFarland saying just the same thing. He did it as well. Chris Chandler here with Mark Arum, and we are continuing our live coverage of this historic night and morning after here in the United States. Attempted assassination of a former president of the United States. Within a few days, the nominee of his party for another term as president of the United States. Chris,
we are going to hopefully again hear from the FBI and hopefully the Secret Service. A lot of unanswered questions from the Secret Service. This is Kevin Rojek. He is the special agent in charge of the FBI Pittsburgh field office.
We do not currently have an identified motive, although our investigators are working tirelessly to attempt to identify what that motive was.
So again, that's who's in charge right now, the FBI Pittsburgh field office. I would imagine that, and no offense to the Pittsburgh field office, but as far as resources are concerned, that is probably one of the smaller field offices for the FBI in the United States.
Yeah, most likely. This is going to be a massive investigation, complicated by the fact, Mark, as we have discussed several times here, that there are real questions and big questions about how the Secret Service performed during this. How it might complicate things, I don't know. We did hear Ed O'Keefe in Milwaukee at the site of the Republican convention saying other law enforcement agencies were moving into the fore there because of what happened last night. So I wonder how I don't want to say turf battles necessarily, but the territorial aspects of this may play out now, given what may very well be a very large failure.
Yes, and I thought you asked a great question to Aaron Gutersky there, who's covered the political campaign for so much, and how hot the temperature has gotten on both sides, on the extremes of both sides. Deborah Green is producing this show. She produces my show. She's in studio. Deborah, it was within the last month we talked about on the Mark Arum show, the fact that I opined we are either extremely lucky or the Secret Service are a bunch of supermen and superwomen that we haven't seen.
That's right. You're right that we haven't seen more attempts on anywhere in the last several elections.
Because, Chris, if you go back to the Iraqi war, I mean, there was a lot of heated rhetoric against former President Bush, right? He made a lot of enemies. I don't need to tell you how things got heated during the Obama administration and the Trump administration. So, in the last 4 administrations, how many assassination attempts were thwarted by the Secret Service before one finally got through yesterday?
And I don't know that we will ever know the answer to that question, right? It's a frightening prospect. And, thank you very much. I'm just being
I just heard a food delivery.
Yes, you certainly did. Thank you, from our program director, Ken Charles. I don't know that we will ever know, right? We have hints that there were at least very close threats against President Obama. You really want to go back a generation. People tried things against Bill Clinton all the time. Somebody crashed a plane into the White House fence. Do you remember that? And
Indeed.
People try to scale over the fence all the time. They never get very far. And that's why this is just so shocking. We hold these Secret Service personnel in such high regard, right? The best of the best, the fittest of the fit. They're sort of the U.S. Marines, right, of the Protectorate. And therefore, if this turns out to be a huge failure, not only is that really, really surprising, it's really sort of a gut punch when it comes to that confidence.
Yeah, and I know it's been said many times before, but the Secret Service has to get it right every time. The bad guys only have to get it right once. Just a brief background on political assassination attempts here in the United States. Obviously Lincoln, but in more modern times, 1950, President Harry Truman was inside the Blair House in D.C. when Oscar Collazo and Griselio Torricello tried to assassinate him. Truman was not injured, but a law enforcement officer was killed. I had no recollection that there were 2 attempted assassinations on Gerald Ford during his presidency.
You know what? We never came up with that last night. They were really close together, and they were also really, really close to him. Squeaky Fromm, who had been mixed up with Charles Manson, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. Was very, very close to him. He had a very, very close call there.
And just in more modern times, you think about what happened again, March 30th, I believe, 1981, where we had that single camera shot of the attempted assassination on Ronald Reagan. You look back to Dealey Plaza, right? Aside from the Zapruder film, there was no video footage of that, no audio of that. But you go to yesterday, and so many cameras because of the generation we live in now.
Never seen anything like it.
Everyone's got a video camera in their pocket, in their hand. I've got some more audio, Chris, that we didn't have last night when we started our coverage. This is new audio to us anyway from an eyewitness of what happened yesterday with the assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump.
I really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
On you. Ready? Move. Up. Move. Go.
And there you hear the movement of law enforcement and Secret Service getting President Trump off the dais and into that SUV. So, from one video of the Reagan assassination attempt to maybe 1,000 of the assassination attempt of President Trump yesterday, which means good news for the FBI. So they should have more footage to go through in their investigation.
That is such good evidence. And you know what's funny about that? The fact that there was only one video in 1963 inspired years of conspiracy theories. Having 1,000 videos in 2024 is doing not much this morning, but inspiring 1,000 conspiracy videos, because you can take something from one angle and see something that you don't necessarily think you see from another angle. It's going to be a real problem going forward with all of this. But this is, of these incidents, certainly, boy, you're exactly right, the best, most widely documented of these kinds of incidents that we have ever seen.
And speaking of the shooter and the positioning and the video evidence we actually have a call. George in Alpharetta joins us during our breaking team coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Trump. George, good morning. Welcome to the show. Your thoughts on where the shooter was when this assassination attempt happened?
Well, first, let me thank both of you for an excellent program. Nobody's talking about the complete failure of this. The steel fabricated building that was used as the shooter's platform should have been an asset law enforcement should have been using. They should have had snipers on top of that building because they can see 3/4 of the crowd down to the stage. And I don't understand in the pre-ops planning why that building was not included as a asset to be taken over by law enforcement entities that can survey the crowd. Obviously, that's a major failure of pre-op planning that needs to be looked at.
Yeah, the advance team should have, at a minimum, George, gone to that structure and talked to the owner and if not asked, demanded, say, hey, we are going to be here to make sure, even though it was, quote, outside of that official perimeter of security.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the perfect lookout tower. That gave an astute advantage to law enforcement entities that are looking at that side of that crowd. And obviously the shooter determined, yeah, that's my location also. So that's a complete failure because you have a large building, close proximity to stage in reality with a firearm, and it was not taken as an asset to be included as a security protocol preventive measure. Instead, it became an offensive location.
Indeed. Hey, George, great call. Thank you for the kind words. Mark Arum, Chris Chandler here, continuing our coverage on 95.5 WSB.
You know, it's a question. I'm total layman and innocent with these things, but there seems only so big of a perimeter that you can draw. I don't know how they decide, right? Or if somebody could figure out a way, no matter how wide it is, to get through or shoot through it. It's really tough, and it's something we're going to hear a lot more about over the next few days, because there are a lot of questions, and there are a lot of questions, and certainly the answers that most of us civilians really don't have any clue about, except to say, what in the world?
Yeah, and part of the video evidence that has been gathered, I don't know if you've seen it yet, Chris, is the sniper retaliation team from the Secret Service. They took down the gunman, after a few shots, but they took him down quickly and exterminated him. How could they not have seen what was going on another rooftop not too far from their vantage point? The video we saw, they showed they were locked in on the assassin. So how did that assassin get up there? I mean, so many unanswered questions that the Secret Service is, again, the Secret Service did an amazing job to protect the president on stage, get him off stage, and thankfully he survived and he's safe and he's going to be fine. But there are a million questions that have to be answered by the Secret Service. Now, I played that updated audio of the shooting there and the assassination attempt. You also have some audio that popped up this morning.
This is from a campaign reporter, Olivia Rinaldi, who was in the media area there when the bullets started flying.
We were towards the front of the stage, expecting Trump to make a different sort of announcement tonight. I was anticipating perhaps a vice presidential announcement. When all of a sudden he was talking about immigration, we just heard shot, shot, shot. I don't remember who. It was one of my colleagues, dragged me down, brought me down to the floor, and I just started filming. And I noticed other people down on the ground. I tried to pop up a few times. They pulled me back down, said, stay down here. And you could just hear the screams and the panic of people, and it was extremely terrifying. I got back up when you could see Trump at the end, raising his fist and really invigorating the crowd. You kind of mouthed fight as he was being pulled off the stage. And in the moments after that, it was just pure pandemonium. People were forced to stay as the motorcade was leaving, which is normal when a principal is leaving an event site. Usually everyone has to stay in place while Secret Service handles that. But then it was just kind of chaos. Secret Service was telling people to leave, and I looked over at the bleachers to the left of Donald Trump, and there you could see blood on the bleachers, and you could also see water bottles and T-shirts strewn about, but there was a lot of blood over there, and I could see police unfolding yellow crime scene tape as that was happening. So a lot of terrible imagery today that is surely going to stick with a lot of people who were at this rally.
This is brutal, but the mark that would-be assassin did hit. We are told that there was what's described by a doctor as brain matter. The one victim who died was shot in the head. President Trump says he was shot in the ear. He said he felt the bullet searing into his skin. 9:48 at WSB. We'll take a quick break here and then going to be joined by a 30-year intelligence analyst, former Green Beret, extensive military resume. These security questions are the big ones this morning, I think, and we're going to get into those in depth here when we continue. Mark Arum, Chris Chandler, our coverage continues.
On an MSC cruise, beauty is everywhere. It's in the thrill of a water slide, top-notch entertainment, and in quieter propellers. It's in the sunset and that toast on your very first night on board. For a limited time, discover the beauty of Ocean Key, MSC's private island marine reserve, and more destinations with drinks and Wi-Fi included, plus up to $400 onboard credit. MSC Cruises, for a greater beauty. To book, visit msccruises.com or contact your travel advisor. Restrictions apply. Ships registered in Panama and Malta.
Summer's in full swing, and you know what that means. Temperatures are hot, grills are hot, the deals are hotter than fire at Omaha Steaks right now, America's original butcher. They're heating up the summer with some amazing deals. I, myself, had the bacon wrap fillets. I've gone back to them. They're my staple. I love them. The Hotter Than Fire sale is happening right now. Every package carefully curated by Omaha Steaks to deliver an exceptional experience for just $99. And a bonus to you guys, an extra $10 off if you use ERICK, E-R-I-C-K, as your promo code at checkout. You get their burgers, their pork, their chicken, their steaks. Omaha Steaks will make your summer worth savoring. The Hotter Than Fire sale is happening right now. Exclusive savings for just $99 plus an extra $10 off with promo code ERICK, E-R-I-C-K, at omahasteaks.com, and you get 100% satisfaction guarantee. All of this at omahasteaks.com. Use promo code ERICK, E-R-I-C-K, at checkout.
How does setting the goal to have income for a lifetime sound? It's not a trick question. Many happy retirees create income for a lifetime through income investing. It's a way to harness the power of many different forms of cash flow, including rent, dividends, distributions, and interest. If you'd like help with income investing, you can reach Capital Investment Advisors at yourwealth.com. That's YOUR wealth.com.
Hi, this is Earl Ron, president of New South Window, and we would like to manufacture and install your windows. Every single New South window is custom manufactured just for your home. Now you can buy 2 windows and get the third absolutely free.
Call 1-800-NEW-WINDOWS or visit newsouthwindow.com.
Hey, is that old car just out there in your yard sitting there in the garage? You're tired of looking at it, really tired of your spouse complaining about it, but you don't have the time to take care of it? Hey, your friend Sean Hannity here to help you solve your problem. Now, my friends at Cars for Kids, they offer an easy online form, and you could schedule a very quick, hassle-free pickup. Cars for Kids, they're going to tow it away the very next day. It is the quickest, easiest way to get rid of any unused vehicle. Just go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
Monica Pearson for Superior Plumbing. Do you have a plumbing issue but have a busy weekday schedule? Superior Plumbing can schedule an appointment that fits your schedule. They show up on time and get the job done right the first time. Locally owned and operated for over 40 years.
9:51 at WSB.
He had a VIP pass. And I says, oh, you're going to get to sit behind the president. He goes, yeah, I'm not going to go back there for a little bit. This was early in the afternoon. I pray to God it wasn't the guy I met yesterday.
Eyewitness Gino there after the assassination attempt. Again, one spectator was killed, 2 critically injured, still being cared for. Mark Arum and Chris Chandler here live on 95.5 WSB as we continue our in-depth coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump.
And joined by Bryant Boyd now, who's got a 30-year career in military intelligence analysis, former Green Beret, part of the Joint Special Operations Command for a long time. We appreciate your time this morning and certainly appreciate your expertise. And it's stipulated here, we don't have all the facts, and stipulated it's easy for all of us to comment from some distance away. But based on your experience, what do you think of what you're hearing about the law enforcement setup and reaction last night?
Well, my career in the Green Berets, I was a commander, but I was also the intelligence chief for a special forces company in the reserves. And ironically enough, my career was always based on failed intelligence missions. My first intelligence job was when the DEA was created in '73. And they allowed me to stay in special forces, but I was also an intelligence officer with DEA. And that came as a result of the failures of the CIA in '73. And that's how DEA took over the intelligence issues. I went on from there to become intelligence chief in another federal agency. And then in 1980, as a direct result of the failed raid in Tehran by Delta, the Holloway Commission created a commission and found that was an intelligence failure. And that's how JSOC was created. It's driven by the intelligence unit, not the operations people. So that was a unique invention. And SEAL Team 6 was added to that with Delta, and that's how it created. The situation you have here, again, is an intelligence failure, but it's also a security breach. If you can envision yourself standing on stage, pretending you're the President Trump before he comes on, you survey the scene to see what could hit you in what direction. And you could obviously see another rooftop, but I think the assumption was that the sniper team on the roof to his right, stage right, would be able to cover it. But again, that one building was too close, and it should have been locked down. It should have been secured. It should have had a police officer on it or in it or somehow secure it, because that's a real serious intelligence failure and a security breach. So this is going to cause a lot of change in the Secret Service's methods. It's going to cause change in how the security is provided. It's going to cause security to be given to Robert Kennedy Jr. because these issues are obviously a problem. The other side of it is typically in the intelligence business, you have a lot of information about people who are bad actors. But in this particular case, and in most cases, think of the shooter that shot Reagan, they're usually individuals, and they're not part of a conspiracy. So they're hard to spot, they're hard to find, and there usually is very little intelligence unless somebody makes a phone call and say, I have a nutcase son or brother or something like that.
Brian, let me jump in for a second, if you don't mind. Mark Arum here. You're hearing from the FBI yesterday in the press conference. Now, in addition to the Secret Service detail that was there with the former president, there were upwards of 30 to 35 local law enforcement helping out with that. Is that a big enough addendum for a presidential campaign speech to have 35 additional local law enforcement plus the typical Secret Service detail?
Well, I would say no, but again, I don't want to make any criticism, but there becomes complacent situations. So many of his rallies historically over the years have never been violent. You could talk about January 6th, where there was an element that did go down there. You can argue that case all the way around, but the vast majority of the people who attend these rallies are fun, they're loving, they pick up their trash, they don't leave a junk area. And they're usually almost all popular. There's very, very little counter-protesting to his rallies. So I suspect that there could be some degree of complacency and think, well, we have enough people in the detail. Since there probably was no overt threats, and this guy doesn't seem to have a threatening background, the question is how and why. It's going to take a while to figure that out. But again, it's a physical security issue. That rooftop should have been secured. They say it's outside their perimeter, But if you stop to think, assassinations are either up close, that's why the stage is bulletproof, or they're long-distance shooters. Think of the Kennedy assassination. And that building wasn't secure when he was in Dallas. So they should know better, in my opinion. They should be realistic enough to know that anything within range should be secured with outside the perimeter, or it's within range of a rifle shot.
Yeah, we have about a minute, sir. How lucky is former President Trump, literally lucky to be alive?
Absolutely. I mean, everybody that's spoken on TV says it's the grace of God. I believe that's a serious remark. I certainly believe that's the grace of God that kept him from being murdered or assassinated in this case. But you have to understand the facts that he, just by making a small move, that small move in his head kept him alive. Had he not turned his way and turned around to that screen, that would have been a full shot to his head. And all of my friends in the business or Secret Service, FBI, Green Berets, Navy SEALs, all of us in the industry all realize that's an easy shot for anybody. A teenager could have done that. This kid's 20. Anybody could have made that shot because it was so close and so easy. It didn't require much of a scope. And the target range of that area, if you talk to the guys in the business, it's a 20-inch by a 40-inch target, and then missed. He literally missed, but he obviously hit other individuals. So when they go back and they do the investigation and look at the trajectory of the bullets, they'll probably figure out why he didn't get hit directly.
Brian Boyd, we really appreciate your expertise this morning. You have filled in a lot of answers for us there. Let us definitely keep in touch, sir, over the next few days.
Thank you very much for inviting me. God bless America.
Appreciate it, sir. 9:58 here. If you're just joining us, full rundown of the overnight developments coming 1 minute from now. Our coverage continues, local coverage all day long. Stay with us. It's 9:58 now.
WSB Atlanta, WSB BFM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
This is Ashley Frasca, and you've heard my friends at ChopMyTree.com on Green and Growing. The goals of their tree care professionals are safety, preserving your property, and prompt customer service. ChopMyTree.com has state-of-the-art equipment, including 3 grapple saw cranes. For the best tree work in all of Metro Atlanta, and now the South Side too, it's ChopMyTree.com. Visit ChopMyTree.com for a free estimate and to see service areas. Premier Tree Solutions. ChopMyTree.com is changing the way tree work is done in Atlanta.
News,
weather,
traffic, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 10 o'clock, I'm Tina Douglas. Our top story, of course, is the attempted assassination of former President Trump while at a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. It left him with a graze wound to his ear. CBS News correspondent Scott McFarland was there.
Witnesses said they spotted the gunman and even pointed him out to security before he started shooting.
I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for 2-3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
Law enforcement defended their security preparations at a press conference late Saturday.
The gunman, identified as 20-year-old Thomas Matthews Crooks, was shot and killed by Secret Service. There are still a number of questions on how he gained access to the building adjacent to the rally venue and how the weapon was not detected. A rally attendee was killed and 2 others were critically wounded during the shooting. Former President Trump is recovering today after flying back to New Jersey late Saturday night. He thanked everyone for their support in a written statement on Truth Social. He said it was God who prevented the unthinkable from happening. We will fear not, but instead remain resilient in our faith and defiant in the face of wickedness. Our love goes out to the other victims and their families. We pray for the recovery of those who were wounded and hold on in our hearts the memory of the citizen who was so horribly killed. In this moment, it is more important than ever that we stand united and show our true character as Americans, remaining strong and determined and not allowing evil to win. I truly love our country and love you all and look forward to speaking to our great nation this week. From Wisconsin. President Biden condemned the attack and called it sick, saying there is no place for political violence. He did say he called and talked with Trump last night. President Obama also issued a statement saying there is no room for such political violence in our democracy, and that though we don't know exactly what happened, we should all be relieved that the former president was not seriously hurt. A local retired Secret Service agent told Channel 2 Action News that the agents protecting Trump yesterday quickly jumped into action to shield him from harm.
Again, they were putting him in what we call a bunker, a body bunker, a human shield. They were trying to cover him so the bad guy couldn't get off any more shots, and if he did, it would not hit former President Trump.
Ray Moore once led the U.S. Secret Service office in Atlanta. Republicans are gathering in Milwaukee this week for the GOP convention. You can expect added security after the events of yesterday. Thousands have begun the descent on the city for the convention, which begins tomorrow. Kennesaw State political science professor Kerwin Swint says the shooter was high up and yards away, reminding him of the JFK assassination.
Immediately, you're taken back to the JFK assassination.
He says GOP attendees will use the incident as a rallying point at the convention, and we'll continue our in-depth coverage all day of the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump right here with Chris Chandler and Mark Arum on 95.5 WSB. The time now is 10:03.
Need inspiration? Shop Kroger for over 30,000 mouth-watering choices with savings beyond low prices, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump. More savings and more inspiring flavors make Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Save big on 6-packs of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or Canada Dry. Select varieties are just $2.99 each with your card and digital coupon. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
It is hot out there, and your inefficient windows mean high utility bills all year long. Window Nation sells some of the most energy-efficient windows you can buy and was recently ranked highest on Forbes' list of best window installation companies. Right now, for every 2 windows you buy, you'll get 2 windows free, plus 0 down and no interest or payments for 2 years. Stop paying more than you have to. Schedule an in-home estimate right now at 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com.
When it comes to my lifestyle and diet, I don't always make the smartest choices.
Touchdown! Woo! Hey, how about another round and some more chips?
But when it comes to taking care of my liver, I do make one very smart choice. Active liver tablets from New Nordic. I used to have real issues with my liver, and at my last checkup, my doc was concerned about my numbers. But since adding a once-a-day active liver tablet, my gut's better, I feel great, and my doctor's happy. I ask a lot of my liver, so the least I can do to say thanks is a daily dose of Active Liver.
You ask a lot of your liver, so give it the support it needs with Active Liver. You can find Active Liver at Amazon.com or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. Or for a volume discount, visit NewNordicUSA.com. Go to new, NORDICUSA.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS.
When you're at your lowest moment, you're your most vulnerable, and being in a crash just stuck on the side of the road is one of those times. That's when you need to make a critical decision, and the first call you need to make after 911 is to my friend John Foy and his team. Doug Turnbull here, and the Strong Arm's been fighting for Atlanta drivers for nearly 30 years, and he treats clients with compassion and respect. Unlike the insurance companies that want to pay you as little as possible, John Foy will make them pay. Go to johnfoy.com for your free consultation and trust the Strong Arm.
Skip the hassle of constant cleaning and costly repairs and sell your home stress-free with a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. Hi, this is Mark Spain, and our offers are the strongest in the industry. One of our clients, Chris, said, Mark Spain Real Estate's guaranteed offer allowed us to sell our 16-year-old home without having to spend thousands on repairs. The guaranteed offer makes selling your home easy. Call 855-299-SOLD or go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing.
Protect your family with a new roof and give hope to families facing childhood cancer. Hi, it's Dave Baker. Findlay Roofing, the Roof guys, are supporting the WSB Carathon, benefiting Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Findlay will donate $100 from every roof replacement sold between now and July 26, guaranteeing a donation of at least $10,000. Time to replace your roof? Think of Findlay first and give families hope for a cancer-free tomorrow. Schedule at FindlayRoofing.com. Roof.
Time now 10:06. Let's check in again with Andrew Seco in the 24-hour traffic center.
What's going on, Tina? Looking at road work on the west side in Fulton County. We're on the outer loop 285 south at I-20 exit 10. Got a couple of right lanes blocked. Those delays starting to fill in. You've seen the brake lights stretching back almost to Bolton Road here. No need for an alternate right now. Just a quick tap of the brakes. A little bit further south, looking at 2 right lanes blocked 285 southbound. We are at Camp Creek Parkway at exit 2. We got speed limit conditions passing through here, so no need for an alternate through College Park. And we got cones across the right lane on the exit to Chamblee Dunwoody Road. That's exit 30 from the outer loop 285 west in Dunwoody. I'm Andrew Seco, 95.5 WSB.
I'm Channel 2 Action News Chief Meteorologist Brad Nitz. Mostly sunny, hot and dry today near the record high of 98.
It's 91 degrees in Atlanta. More news at 10:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Tina Douglas, 95.5 WSB.
I'm Chris Chandler, live in the WSB 24-hour News Center. We continue our live, in-depth team coverage from here in Atlanta and around the country of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump, who will, of course, be nominated this week for another term as president at the convention in Milwaukee, which starts tomorrow. Mark Arum, who's here now, and I led you through this as best we could last night, and we're here this morning now to cover all the aftermath. WSB will be live with local coverage all day long here. You will get the latest. Mark and I are on until noon. Eric Erickson goes from noon until at least 5 o'clock this afternoon. So any development you will hear if former President Trump, perhaps President Biden speaks, a law enforcement briefing, you will hear any of that right here. And we can also this way continue to bring all of the local reaction, traffic, and weather as well. So you can stay with us all day long here and be confident that you will get the latest information. Since we talked to you last night, if you're just joining us, maybe just headed off to church or breakfast at the Waffle House, here's the new info since late last night. President Trump, by all accounts, is fine. That's the official word. We saw a video of him arriving back at Bedminster in New Jersey. Shocked, obviously a little unkempt, but completely under his own power. He's put out a statement this morning, extremely conciliatory call for unity, notably so by the usually feisty Trump standard. Here's a quote: "In this moment, it is more important than ever that we stand united and show our true character as Americans, remaining strong and determined and not allowing evil to win." The suspect has been identified as a 20-year-old man from Pennsylvania. 20-year-old
Thomas Matthew Crooks.
I've got it here. Thomas Matthew Crooks. We know very little about him. We have no idea from law enforcers about his motivation. At that news conference late last night, the law enforcers were extremely unforthcoming. If they know more than we do, they would not say so. I will say, Mark, that I've got several video feeds called up from our satellite news sources. There is right now what I think you can call fully a raid on Mr. Crooks' house, or a house at least he has some connection to there in Pennsylvania. There's a large law enforcement presence there and a large number of law enforcers standing around. It's nothing urgent, but they're inside there and have the area blocked off with police tape. One of the big questions, Mark, still is, who is this fellow? Why did he do it?
Indeed, and it's weird that in a presidential assassination attempt, we learned yesterday from the FBI and local authorities in Pennsylvania that they still have to go through the process of a search warrant. So they had to wait for a warrant, but now they are surrounding his dwelling in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, which I've been told is about an hour from where the assassination attempt happened in Butler.
It happened last night, and it's early in the morning, but by the way these things go, I'm sorry, that is actually the sound, if you can hear that from outside his house.
Okay, I was wondering what that was.
I'm sorry, let me pull that down. It's not very exciting. By this time, usually, reporters have the suspect's friends, sometimes the parents even speak, right? Classmates, school teachers. They found his social media postings. There's nothing. It really is a little bit odd.
Yeah, which means that the now dead assassin was probably an odd individual. A 20-year-old with no social media, I would imagine, is an outlier in these days. Again, Thomas Matthew Crooks was eliminated by the Secret Service sniper team on another roof there So many questions. One of the questions we do have, though, is politically. And we heard last night, we're going to replay Marjorie Taylor Greene called into the show last night with you and I, Chris. But also, the reaction from the Biden campaign. The president addressed the nation yesterday. Let's go to the White House. Mary Bruce, a reporter from ABC News. How did the Biden campaign, the Biden team, the Biden White House respond to the rally event and the assassination attempt?
The president racing back here late last night, shortly after he came before those cameras and forcefully condemned this attack. The president saying that there is simply no place in this country for this kind of political violence. He says it's sick, and he is calling for the country to unite in this moment. He's trying to dial down the political temperature during what we know is already an incredibly divisive time in this country. He did reach out to Donald Trump directly, the two of them speaking by phone late last night. It is, of course, incredibly rare for the two of them to speak. The White House is not, though, offering any details of their conversation. But, of course, the president earlier in the night did say he is grateful that Donald Trump is doing well and said he was praying for him and the other victims.
Yeah, pretty remarkable that they did discuss. They talked on the phone for the first time in maybe ever. Again, Mary Bruce, ABC News at the White House. How will the Biden campaign change course now?
Right now they are hitting the pause button. For now, they are trying to put politics aside. They are stopping their political communication, pulling their ads off of the airwaves. It is unclear right now, though, if the president will cancel or change any of his upcoming campaign travel plans. Also, right now, of course, this does come as the future of the president's candidacy is still very much being called into question. The Democratic Party still in turmoil. It remains to be seen how this incident, this assassination attempt, will impact any of that. For now, the president is continuing to respond as the president first and not a candidate. He is back here at the White House this morning. He is again being briefed by his Homeland Security team and law enforcement officials.
Remarkable, Chris, that and rightly so. I agree with what the presidential team is doing, but in this closely contested presidential race, that they're pulling all of their ads right now.
That's a big deal because we heard Eric Erickson telling us last night that even though it's tradition for one party to lay off the ads while the other is having their convention, that had gone out the window this year. And during the Republican convention next week, we were about to be flooded with Biden ads, and now will not be. That alone is a remarkable development.
Indeed. 10:14 on 95.5 WSB. Mark Arum and Chris Chandler continue with our live in-depth team coverage of, it's so odd to say this, the attempted assassination of former President Trump that happened yesterday, basically at some fairgrounds in Butler, Pennsylvania. CBS's Scott McFarland joined us live in our coverage. He's going to join us live again in the 11 o'clock hour. He had a firsthand account of what went down, Chris.
It was unbelievably dramatic. I think it was the most, and it was not long after it had happened, so he was still very understandably, right, having the adrenaline pumping there. He was the first one to tell us what a security failure it seemed to be, and we have heard that from every source with any expertise on this, from Scott, who was standing there, to our expert that we had on the air about 20 minutes ago. One thing, Mark, and then we want to get to some political reaction. We've had now a couple of experts tell us something that seems like common sense, but that this young fellow, to a great extent, didn't quite know what he was doing, right? At the very least, he wasn't a very good marksman.
Yeah, it's not a trained assassin, not a trained sniper, and thankfully he wasn't. Unfortunately, we did, one spectator lost their life, two are critically injured, but the President of the United States just grazed. And every marksman that we've heard from said a true marksman, a true sniper, the president would be deceased. And this would be a totally different conversation in a totally different country.
About 130 yards away is what we're being told. 10:15 here at WSB. So the political reaction began coming in not long after this happened last night. I think we can sum it up here by 10:15 this morning by saying Democrats from President Biden on down to Georgia lawmakers, including Senator Jon Ossoff, for example, have issued calls for unity. They've decried political violence. They have sent good wishes and or prayers to former President Trump. On the Republican side, the former president himself has sent out one of the very few conciliatory messages, which I just read part of it to you. Politicians from Georgia, several of the would-be vice presidential running mates have been very stark and did not lay off a minute of their criticism of what they call Democratic Biden rhetoric. They say it led to this. We talked last night, as Mark mentioned, to Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene to get her reaction. This was recorded last evening.
Heartfelt prayers go out for the woman that was killed today at the rally and her family and everyone around them. I was just on an interview with Sid Miller from Texas, the ag commissioner there, and he happened to be sitting in front.
Stand by. That is my fault.
That's okay. While you're pulling that, I've got some Democratic reaction from this morning. This is, obviously this happened in Pennsylvania. This is Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman was on CNN's State of the Union reacting to the assassination attempt yesterday.
I was actually close by that at the time, and sadly, I was actually in that region to attend a vigil for a trans teen that was murdered there. And it was just a very sad night. And then, of course, I immediately was like, I'm just so glad that Donald Trump is going to be okay.
Yeah, and that's what we're hearing. Thankfulness that the former president is okay. Millimeters away from a different conversation that we're having today. And by all accounts, the president will be 100% starting tomorrow in Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention.
My bad there with Congresswoman Greene. Not an attempt at censorship, I promise there. Just late night and early morning and sticky fingers. So let's try again. We'll start this from the beginning. This is Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene to us last night.
Heartfelt prayers go out for the woman that was killed today at the rally and her family and everyone around them. I was just on an interview with Sid Miller from Texas, the ag commissioner there, and he happened to be sitting in front of one of the people that was shot. And it's unbelievable to think that innocent Americans attending a rally supporting President Trump and his campaign to be president, the 47th president. It's hard to imagine that people that believe in making America great again, believing in just a beautiful American dream, protecting our freedoms and who we are as a country, could be killed because of political violence like this. And I just want to say this comes on the heels of witnessing the Democrats and the Biden administration weaponize the justice system against President Trump. And after years and years of the media vilifying President Trump and all of us who support him, from Hillary Clinton calling us deplorables to the media telling the Russia lies and hoax over and over again, to them calling us Nazis and calling President Trump Hitler himself. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting what they have done to this country.
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene last night, when I asked her directly, do you think that tone is appropriate at such a moment? She continued on, Mark, just in that vein, as you heard.
Indeed. 10:19 here, Chris. We're going to monitor more reaction from political figures left, right, and center. But obviously, the main focus right now is the investigation on the assassination attempt. What happened, what went wrong, and how can we prevent it in the future? Still a lot of unanswered questions. Tom in Gainesville has a question that needs to be answered regarding this. Tom, welcome to the show. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and I really appreciate the effort and time everybody there, including your call screener, has been putting in overtime to give us the best information you can and try to be as fair as you can. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom. That's what we do, for sure.
Anyway, simple question. All the rhetoric aside, and I won't share where I'm coming from, but just simply on a preventive question, where were the drones? Where were the aerial drones?
Yeah, I mean, Tom, you could drive to Costco right now and buy 4 drones and have them up over there. Where was the aerial coverage from the Secret Service, from local law enforcement? How could they have not discovered the shooter? Because people on the ground, participants at the rally saw this guy climb onto the roof. Is that one of the main failures, that there was no aerial support?
Yeah, and they would have seen him climbing before he even got to the top. You would think if there were sufficient aerial coverage. Yeah. I mean, they didn't need a skycopter. They just needed some drones.
They did not. Well, I mean, in a situation like that, I can tell you firsthand that there are flight restrictions So any local news choppers would not have been allowed to be over that area. Mark Arum and Chris Chandler at 10:21. We're going to continue our in-depth team coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Again, if there are any news conferences held by the Secret Service, by the Pennsylvania State Police, by the FBI, we'll carry them live here on 95.5 WSB.
July 4th blowout savings have been extended at BrandsMart USA. Name brand appliances, TVs, electronics, furniture, mattresses, and more. It's time for you to upgrade with the lowest prices of the year. Save hundreds, save thousands. Plus, promotional financing is available. The July 4th blowout has been extended at BrandsMart USA in Doraville, Stockbridge, and now open in Kennesaw and Barrett Parkway and online at BrandsMartUSA.com. BrandsMart USA. Favorite brands, lowest prices. See store website for details.
This is Ashley Frasca, and you've heard my friends at ChopMyTree.com on Green and Growing. The goals of their tree care professionals are safety, preserving your property, and prompt customer service. ChopMyTree.com has state-of-the-art equipment, including 3 grapple saw cranes. For the best tree work in all of Metro Atlanta, and now the South Side too, it's ChopMyTree.com. Visit ChopMyTree.com for a free estimate and to see service areas. Premier Tree Solutions. ChopMyTree.com is changing the way tree work is done in Atlanta.
Hi, this is Dr. Taylor from Be the Younger You Atlanta. Yes, it's true. So many of our patients lose up to 30 pounds in 1 month without bars, shakes, or prepackaged meals and no shots. They love that they feel great by the end of their first week. But you know what they love most? It's when I tell them after this, you'll never have to go through this again. They love knowing that they're done riding the emotional weight loss roller coaster. Because let's be honest, isn't lasting change what we all want? Sound too good to be true? Hear it from the patients themselves. Go to BeTheYoungerYouATL.com. That's BeTheYoungerYouATL.com. Or call 770-415-3000. That's 770-415-3000. And schedule your free weight loss consultation and learn the secret to lasting change. That's Be the Younger You Atlanta at 770-415-3000. That's 770-415-3000. Or go to BeTheYoungerYouATL.com.
All my life I wore contacts with no problems, and a few years ago my reading gave out and I started having to wear reading glasses. After a while I got frustrated and I went to see Dr. Ashraf regarding my options. Instead of LASIK, I opted for laser optics procedure. Believe me, this is amazing. Most of my day I do not use any glasses, even for reading. As an added bonus, my insurance covered most of the cost.
Hi, this is Dr. Ashraf of the Atlanta Vision Institute. I'm proud to be one of the first physicians to offer the laser optics procedure. This procedure uses LASIK technology to improve your distance vision, but also helps to restore your reading vision. As a matter of fact, most of my patients are able to read a menu or see their phones without the need for reading glasses. So if you can relate to Bill's frustrations, come see me and see if you're a candidate for the laser optics procedure.
If you would like to learn more about the procedure and find out if you're covered by insurance, visit Atlanta2020.com. That's Atlanta2020.com.
We weren't planning on selling our home, but our family's needs changed. Hi, I'm Caitlin, and selling our home with a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate was the best decision we made for our family. Between taking care of the kids and working a full-time job, fixing up our house and keeping it clean for showings and open houses was overwhelming. I didn't know when I would find the time to do it all. Mark Spain Real Estate's guaranteed offer saved us time and gave us peace of mind. We went to their website, filled out a quick form, and received a call within seconds. The entire process was quick and easy. We sold our home for a lot more than we bought it for. With over 11,000 five-star reviews, I had peace of mind knowing I could trust Mark Spain Real Estate to sell our home fast and for more than we were asking. Their guaranteed offer allowed us to focus on what mattered most, taking care of our family. I would 100% work with Mark Spain Real Estate again. If you're preparing to move, check out Mark Spain Real Estate's guaranteed offer. Go to markspain.com and see what their guaranteed offer would be on your home. There's no obligation. That's markspain.com and start packing.
We need to dial the rhetoric down, and there's been a lot of rhetoric for the last few months.
Steve Scalise knows firsthand about political violence. The Louisiana congressman there discussing the failed, thankfully, assassination attempt of President Trump yesterday in Pennsylvania. Our live coverage continues on WSB. Mark Arum alongside Chris Chandler.
One observation, Senator Lindsey Graham just making this observation, Mark, on Meet the Press on NBC, and it's something that has occurred to me a couple times here. Thank God, that former President Trump was not hurt any worse than he was. But all this talk of divine intervention and so forth and concentrating only on him, someone died in this.
Indeed, and 2 are in critical
Badly
condition.
hurt, yeah.
Yeah, and listen, and I did see, you always, not to put my Clark Howard hat on for a second, you always have to be wary of online fundraising activities, but apparently the Trump campaign has authorized a GoFundMe to raise money for the victim that was killed. Again, according to the FBI, the person that died, the spectator, was a man, and the 2 critically injured are men. They put up an official GoFundMe page to raise hopefully $1 million to support the family. That apparently is legitimate, and you can donate to that.
So that's a worthy cause, and it won't take long for scamsters to try to, imitate it online. So if you folks want to give to that, be very careful with the Clark Howard hat. I'll put it on as well. We're going to continue here. Mark and I will continue until noon live here on WSB as we continue our coverage following up yesterday's assassination attempt. Eric Erickson is in at noon until at least 5 o'clock this afternoon. Mark said a couple minutes ago, anything that we get live from either Trump or Biden, law enforcers in Pennsylvania or Washington, you will hear it right here as it happens, and being local all through the afternoon gives us the ability as well to share the local reaction, developments, and any statements from anybody here in Atlanta or Georgia. So we hope you'll stay with us. It's 10:28.
High five! Up top! Heck yeah!
Dave's company just got the first ever 5-year price lock guarantee from Comcast Business.
Yeah, 5 years!
It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
High five for gig speed!
5 years of advanced security.
Security win!
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Our rate ain't changing.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability.
There it is!
He hasn't given this many high fives since Deborah brought in her famous banana bread.
Woohoo!
Now he's got savings.
I'm so excited!
Yep. Dave's feeling it, but it's only for a limited time, so don't wait. Switch today and ask how to get the first ever 5-year price lock guarantee from Comcast Business. Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
And it's hurting, but I am not stopping.
Woo! Ends 8/21/24. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
When you need quality professional tree work, choose Heath Tree Service. Hi, I'm Jimmy Heath. My father started Heath Tree Service over 60 years ago, and we're still family owned. Certified arborists and experts with trees. Find us at heathtreeservice.com.
Monica Pearson for Superior Plumbing. Did you know Superior is probably the #1 installer of water heaters in Atlanta? If your water heater is over 10 years old, time to replace, and be surprised on the improvements it will make in giving you plenty of hot water. Superior offers a 10-year warranty.
Need inspiration? Shop Kroger for over 30,000 mouth-watering choices with savings beyond low prices, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump. More savings and more inspiring flavors make Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Check out this fresh deal. USDA Choice whole boneless beef brisket is on sale for only $2.99 a pound with your card and digital coupon. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 10:30, I'm Tina Douglas. Our top local story, of course, is the ongoing story about the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. He suffered a graze wound on his right ear in that assassination attempt while talking to supporters at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. He was whisked away by the Secret Service and taken to a hospital for treatment and then released. Then he flew back to New Jersey late last night. The president issued a statement through Truth Social saying in part, "It was God who prevented the unthinkable from happening." He added, "We will fear not, but instead remain resilient in our faith and defiant in the face of wickedness." Again, the shooting occurred just 2 days before the opening of the GOP convention in Milwaukee, where extra security and other measures will be put in place to handle the huge crowd expected in Milwaukee for the convention. The president says he plans to attend. We get the latest from CBS News.
CBS News special report. President Biden is condemning what the FBI's called an attempted assassination on former President Trump.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this.
Trump survived the shooting, but 2 people died, including the shooter who was killed by Secret Service. 2 others were critically injured. Our John Dickerson with more reaction.
This morning, Trump posted on his social media account, "God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening," and said, "It is more important than ever we stand united and show our true character as Americans."
The FBI says the 20-year-old shooter had no prior record and had not been on law enforcement's radar. He was armed with a semi-automatic AR-15 rifle, which the ATF is now working to trace. CBS News Special Report.
The time now is 10:32.
With affordable
At
dentures
Shane
and
Company,
implants,
we have endless ways to create personalized jewelry that lets your unique style shine. Come marvel at our rainbow of gemstones and find the one that speaks to you. Customize your ring setting and add a personal touch to it, like an engraving on the band. Stack rings and layer necklaces to create your signature look. At Shane Company, we're dedicated to creating unique jewelry you won't find anywhere else. Let us help you find a piece that feels like it was designed just for you. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
With affordable dentures and implants summer savings, new denture wearers can get a free upgrade to premium dentures for the price of an economy denture. That's an average of $700 in savings. Offer ends July 22nd, so don't miss out on the summer savings. Call 1-800-DENTURE today. That's 1-800-DENTURE. Visit one of their 14 locations in the Atlanta area. Restrictions apply. Go to affordabledentures.com to learn more.
Go ahead and smile.
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated. Are you sick of all the fancy charts and investment mumbo-jumbo thrown at you to justify the Wall Street fees you're being charged? It's not the size of your nest egg that matters, but rather the income it can produce. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, best-selling author and star in a brand new Hollywood documentary called The Retirement Deception. In this film, we traveled over 20,000 miles interviewing real Americans who have retired successfully with a great lifestyle and peace of mind. They share their stories on how they get more retirement income with the same dollar saved, and the money is never at risk if the market crashes. That's right. If the market crashes 30%, you lose nothing. Even the super wealthy are shifting money into this new strategy because it increases their retirement income or can allow them to stop working years sooner. So if you are over 50 and want a bigger, better, stress-free retirement, call to talk to a specialist and get a free copy of this brand new movie, The Retirement Deception. 888-471-3896. This is a $30 value, but when you call today, you get it completely free. So don't delay. Call 888-471-3896. Again, that's 888-471-3896.
The time now is 10:34. Andrew Seco is in the 24-hour traffic center.
What's going on, Tina? Tracking that road work through Fulton County. We're on the outer loop, 285 south at I-20 exit 10. Got that right lane block delay starting to fill in with that volume as the day gets a little bit later. We're back to Bolton Road here, but it's short-lived. No need for an alternate, just a tap of the brakes. A little further down, got 2 right lanes blocked. 285 south, Camp Creek Parkway exit 2, and we're seeing the volume starting to fill in on the connector south. 75-85, you're slowing and going on the brakes from 17th Street all the way down past North Avenue. I'm Andrew Seco, 95.5 WSB.
I'm Channel 2 Action News Chief Meteorologist Brad Nitz. With Atlanta's most accurate and dependable weather forecast, mostly sunny and very hot today near the record high of 98. Tomorrow, we'll start mostly sunny and 76, 98 in the afternoon again with a partly cloudy sky giving way to some isolated showers and storms. Rain chance Monday at 30%, 40% chance of afternoon storms Tuesday. They'll be scattered, high of 95.
93 degrees in LaGrange. It's 92 degrees in Lawrenceville and 92 degrees in Atlanta. More news at 11 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Tina Douglas, 95.5 WSB.
Man, I just caught that. We've been so busy with the news. 93 degrees, and it's 10:30 in the morning here, part of the Metro. I'm Chris Chandler. Our coverage continues here of the aftermath of the assassination attempt on the life of former President Trump. Half an hour from now, if you'll stay with us, about 11:05, we're going to be joined live by a former high official in the U.S. Secret Service. There are plenty of questions about how this was allowed. No, I won't say allowed. How this would-be assassin was able to carry out this crime last night. And Mr. Smith, A.T. Smith, who we'll talk to at 11:05, certainly will have some insight in that. We will look forward to that. Chris Chandler here with Mark Aram.
Yeah, Chris, yesterday we had Eric Erickson. We as soon as the news broke, all hands were on deck here at WSB. You and I anchored our coverage till 11. Eric Erickson joined us. And this is, of course, coming on tomorrow's start of the Republican National Convention. And Eric mentioned how many of the speeches had to be ripped up and rewritten. And I thought about this morning, as folks went to church, how many pastors priests and reverends tore up their sermons and worked in what happened yesterday in Pennsylvania into their sermons today. And as soon as I thought about that, Reverend Warnock, I'm assuming he delivered it at Ebenezer Baptist today. Quote, yesterday's attack is an attack on all of us because it's an attack on democracy. We cannot condone one and not condemn the other. They're cut from the same cloth, referencing what happened yesterday and January 6th. And I believe Jonathan O'Brien, our WSB radio reporter, is working to get us audio of the speech there from Senator Warnock.
Going to see they stream the church services, so it's a fairly easy matter of pulling it. But we'll have to grab it and turn it around and then hear from Senator Warnock directly. We've had Mark, as you know, a written statement, a social media and printed statement from Senator Ossoff. We have not heard from him directly either. Those are our top two Georgia lawmakers, both of them United States senators, both of them Democrats.
And we have reached out. We have reached out to both offices of the senators to join us. We've reached out to Governor Kemp. He issued two statements yesterday condemning the attack and calling for unity. It's just an unreal situation, unreal times we're living in right now. And I got to go back, Chris, because I've been in a fog since the news broke yesterday, and rewatching that video and so many videos of the attempted assassin on the president, and the president struck by a bullet in his ear. Thankfully, a non-fatal injury, non-life-threatening injury, a graze, if you will, but it could have been a worse situation, a lethal situation. He's hit by a bullet, goes to the ground, whether at a protection or pain, and then 10 seconds later, he has the wherewithal. He recognizes what's going on in the moment, and with a bloodied ear and face, sticks that defiant fist in the air to create one of the most iconic imageries, I'm going to say it, in American history. You know, if there were photographers around when Washington crossed the Delaware, that picture would have been up there with the picture we saw yesterday from the rally.
A showman, even at such a moment, right? And we should point out, you folks should seek out this photograph if you haven't seen it. It's not just the content; it is the photo, the way that it's taken, and so forth. This is the one that will be in the history books for sure. In 1981, when President Reagan was shot, they showed the same video, Mark. We've all seen it over and over and over again of him being thrown into the car. We have a few seconds just like that now from former President Trump going to the ground, as you just mentioned, and then being hustled away. That'll be sort of in a continuous loop that'll be in all of our brains.
I know he's in that business and has been in that business in the public eye for basically his entire life. So he's probably more familiar with not an assassination attempt, but being on a center stage like that. But I'm just putting myself in his shoes. If I was giving a speech on a fairgrounds in Pennsylvania and I get shot, I'm not thinking about, all right, how do I react to portrait? I'm like, get me the heck in that SUV.
Most
and
would.
Get me
Yes,
out of
indeed.
here.
Most would.
And so that stands out to me that he did that. He had the composure to stick his fist in the air, yell, fight, fight, fight. Certainly a remarkable moment. And certainly, years from now, people will reflect on that, on the former president's reaction.
It's the instinct. His kicked in. We've heard from multiple of the reporters who were there that their instincts kicked in. We heard Eric Erickson mentioned a BBC war correspondent who stayed even as the fray was going there taking photos, and he got some of these iconic photos. We heard our CBS's Scott McFarland just beating himself up that he ducked for 10 seconds. Their instinct is to keep it work. And then we heard about the instinct of those people in that crowd, many of them near the front. Their instinct, as gunshots were ringing out, was to rush the stage and assist and help the former president. In that moment, instinct kicked in for almost everyone there, and it's interesting to think about what was in everybody's minds in that split second, and you can sort of trace the instincts across everybody who was there.
Yeah, a remarkable scene. You mentioned the BBC. This is audio. The BBC reporter here, this is a blind reporter, by the way, covering the event for BBC, caught up with a witness who basically watched it unfold from beginning to end before that there was even an assassination attempt.
We noticed a guy bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, and, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle.
A rifle.
We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police are like, huh, what? Like they didn't know what was going on. We're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. He's crawling.
Just an average spectator saw what was going on, and unfortunately it was not in time, not enough to prevent the assassination attempt and the killing. The homicide is what they're calling it, of the spectator.
In front of his family. The people who were standing around them say that man's whole family was there when he was shot and went down. 10:42 here, and Mark mentioned Senator Raphael Warnock, who on Sunday mornings is still a preacher here in Atlanta. He has made some public comments. We read just a bit to you, but let's hear now from the senator himself what he had to say just a few minutes ago.
Finally, across the yawning chasm of our partisan differences, we must be very clear that yesterday's attack is an attack on all of us because it is an attack on democracy, the sacred and precious right of the American people to choose and to do so nonviolently. And if we lose that, we lose the very idea of America.
Senator Warnock there giving his first public comment. He, along with Senator Ossoff, had issued a written statement last night, but that is the first time we have heard from him in public. We did hear, I think if you count it all total, Mark, we did hear from all of the really top Georgia lawmakers before we had signed off last night. This is something at such a moment, if you're in that position of authority and leadership, you feel you have to say something.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I don't blame anyone for not coming out aside from a social media post, right? Especially when we don't have all the facts yet. And last night when we reached out to campaigns, we didn't have all the facts or the details. But I suspect we're going to see elected leaders from both sides of the aisle come out and publicly speak on this once we know more about this. And we do know more than we did last night, including the name of the assassin, now deceased, Thomas Matthew Crooks, Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, which is apparently about an hour from where the shooting took place. He was taken out by the Secret Service sniper team there. And as you played the reporter in Pennsylvania, they are now going through his residence, trying to find any evidence and any possible motive for the assassination attempt.
ABC News just reporting, I was just about to bring this up in a few minutes. This is one of the things, it was odd that we had not heard yet, because this is usually one of the first pieces of information that is discovered and made public. ABC News now saying the firearm, which was recovered at the scene on the roof of that building, was purchased legally by that 20-year-old suspect's father. So that was one of the outstanding questions, and it turns out here, per this report, that the rifle that was used in the shooting had been legally bought by the suspect's father. This house, Mark, that I can still see here, that has just been surrounded by law enforcers in Pennsylvania. We know it has some connection to the young man. Don't know if it's a family home, if it's his house. We have not heard if he's living with his family, if he lived alone. We don't know. Married, girlfriend, brothers, sisters, anything still, yeah.
That new information there about the firearm helps us connect some dots. So, again, last night during the press conference, the FBI did not want to release any possible info on the name of the suspect. They were waiting biometric confirmation via DNA, but they did mention that the suspect had no identification on the roof where he was shot and killed, and it was opined that they were able to get identity because of the serial number on the firearm. So if this was legally purchased by his father, they were able to look at the serial number, trace it back to the father, and eventually lead them to the suspect who was shot and killed on the roof. So it was that Here's another thing, and I don't want to bring in a Second Amendment debate to this at all, but Pennsylvania is an open carry state. So they were asking some folks on CNN last night that are in former Secret Service, former FBI. They said because it's an open carry state, would local police or Secret Service see someone carrying a firearm and not give it a second thought because it's an open carry state? And the former FBI agent was like, not that close to the president.
No, good.
Now
yards
inside
away.
the perimeter, as we heard from Scott McFarland, they had to go through the metal detector. So you wouldn't have been able to, inside the perimeter, have a firearm. but that shed, the metal building where the assassination attempt was outside, and the former FBI agent said, no, if there was, even though it's an open carry, even though it's allowed, if a law enforcement officer saw someone with a gun in that close of proximity to the president, they would have said something. It wouldn't have been, oh, it's an open carry state, it's fine. It would have drawn attention by law enforcement.
And in about 20 minutes, we will talk live here on WSB with a former high official in the U.S. Secret Service about all of this. This is one of the big parts of the story as this continues. That response, the preparation, the scoping out of the area beforehand has been called, even by the interviewees on this program this morning with any expertise in the subject, has been called both a failure of intelligence and a failure of response. That's about 11:05. We'll do that in the mark. We have Scott MacFarlane from CBS at 11:50. Is it 11:50?
11:50. Speaking of which, a tweet from Scott, who was on scene of the shooting yesterday, joined us live. We're going to talk to him again in the 11 o'clock hour. He just quoted the FBI in a tweet, quote, we do not currently have an identified motive. So Scott says, ignore the conspiracy theories floating around right now. The FBI says we do not have an identified motive. That's coming from Scott MacFarlane up there in Butler, Pennsylvania.
It's all a big Rorschach test then in the meantime, right? People will see what they want to see and interpret what evidence there is right through the prism that they interpret everything else. That is a little dangerous. So the more real information that we can get just as soon as possible go a great ways toward tamping, hopefully, at least some of that down.
Indeed. And we're going to talk to A.T. Smith, who is a former Secret Service Deputy Director, just from my notes. And for the folks listening, what time are we going to talk to A.T. Smith?
11:05.
11:05. All right, so we have so much to do. And again, if we have any press conferences, because we really need to hear from the Secret Service, if they have a press conference, if the Pennsylvania State Patrol, the FBI does, and could we hear from President Trump instead of a social post? Will he, step in front of a camera today or release a video?
Can't imagine not, and I'm sure he wants to. It just depends if his people around him decides it's wise and/or he overrules them. We'll find out.
Indeed, Mark Arum alongside Chris Chandler. Our in-depth team coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump continues next on 95.5 WSB.
How does setting the goal to have income for a lifetime sound? It's not a trick question. Many happy retirees create income for a lifetime through income investing. It's a way to harness the power of many different forms of cash flow, including rent, dividends, distributions, and interest. If you'd like help with income investing, you can reach Capital Investment Advisors at yourwealth.com. That's YOUR-wealth.com.
Sell your home stress-free this summer with a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. Skip the hassle of a traditional home sale while receiving the strongest cash offer on your home. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing.
Hi, this is Dr. Taylor from Be the Younger You Atlanta. Yes, it's true. So many of our patients lose up to 30 pounds in 1 month without bars, shakes, or prepackaged meals and no shots. They love that they feel great by the end of their first week. But you know what they love most? It's when I tell them after this, you'll never have to go through this again. They love knowing that they're done riding the emotional weight loss roller coaster. Because let's be honest, isn't lasting change what we all want? Sound too good to be true? Hear it from the patients themselves. Go to BeTheYoungerYouATL.com. That's BeTheYoungerYouATL.com. Or call 770-415-3000. That's 770-415-3000. And schedule your free weight loss consultation and learn the secret to lasting change. That's Be the Younger You Atlanta at 770-415-3000. That's 770-415-3000. Or go to BeTheYoungerYouATL.com.
Need inspiration? Shop Kroger for over 30,000 mouth-watering choices with savings beyond low prices, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump. More savings and more inspiring flavors make Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Save big on 6-packs of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or Canada Dry. Select varieties are just $2.99 each with your card and digital coupon. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Hi, this is Earl Ron, president of New South Window, and we would like to manufacture and install your windows. Every single New South window is custom manufactured just for your home. Now you can buy 2 windows and get the third absolutely free.
Call 1-800-NEW-WINDOWS or visit newsouthwindow.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Injured? Just dial pound law. That's all. Morgan & Morgan, America, and now the universe's largest injury law firm.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
When they came and knocked on your door and told you to leave the house, what did you know at that time?
Nothing. It was a state of emergency. That was it. And then I started hearing rumors shortly after about there being a bomb, which was just confirmed when I went to the Bethel Park Police Station and asked them what the hell was going on.
That's the shooter's neighbor, Kelly Little. Again, Thomas Matthew Crooks identified as the would-be assassin. He was exterminated at the scene at Butler, but the investigation continues at his home in Bethel Park. And new reporting now from the Wall Street Journal, Chris Chandler.
This is just in there. Authorities found explosive devices in the car of the man who tried to assassinate former President Trump. This is according to people briefed on the investigation. The car was parked near the Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. These law enforcement sources said, we have been watching the video feed of what's been happening outside the Crooks' home there, and the idea that there might have been explosives involved in this too certainly explains the very great level of caution and concern that's being taken even outside that house. Mark, I'm going to say we've had 3 vaguely unsourced bits of new information here just in the last 10 minutes. Somebody up there in Washington is clearly giving a background briefing to some of the top network and newspaper reporters with some hard information. So I would expect once this is all put together over the next hour or so, we may have considerable new information. It's not a coincidence here. This is all coming in just at the same time.
Exactly. And again, we're not even 24 hours after the shooting, but the more information they get, and credit to the FBI, they were forthcoming in the press conference yesterday saying, when we get new information, we're not going to sit on it. We're going to give it to you as long as it doesn't interfere with our investigation. We're hearing from the former First Lady, Melania Trump. She releases a statement on the attempted assassination of her husband. Again, this is a social post, not an audio or video. Quote, when I watched the violent bullet strike my husband, Donald, I realized my life and Barron's life were on the brink of devastating change. I am grateful to the brave Secret Service agents and law enforcement officials who risked their lives to protect my husband. Dawn is here again. Let us reunite now. That's Melania Trump in a social post reacting to the assassination attempt of her husband, Chris Chandler.
So she, too, a conciliatory message there, as opposed to some that we have heard from some of the other Republican lawmakers, including a couple here in Georgia. So we have heard from both former President Trump this morning and his wife, Melania Trump. Donald Trump Jr. Early this morning, I'd call it overnight, said that his father is in great spirits, that we haven't heard anything in public on tape or camera from him, but clearly the family there is following very closely and perhaps in person. Mr. Trump was going to another event last night, Mark, as you know, and then they decided cooler heads prevailed. He went back to New Jersey.
Indeed, and I think that's the wise thing, and we have to know how many changes, what changes will be in place tomorrow in Milwaukee as they start the Republican National Convention. Not that I'm sure security wasn't buttoned up already, but I'm sure there's going to be additional layers of security following. This is just a jaw-dropping assassination attempt of a former president and the presumptive Republican nominee. Certainly will change a lot of what's going to happen in Milwaukee this week.
I tell you, I was a little surprised last night with the Georgia lawmakers that we interviewed getting their reaction. I asked each one of them, including Congresswoman Green, are you worried about next week? Are you satisfied with the security there? What do you think going into Milwaukee? And both Mr. Dixon and Mrs. Green said, yes, they're a little worried about it. I really expected a happier face, right? But they both said, yes, they're worried about it. Yes, they're concerned about security. We know they've extended the perimeter around the arena there in Milwaukee. To the point where it's like CIA to get even inside. It's going to take a lot of the fun away for a lot of those folks. We do still have the unanswered question mark: who's going to be Mr. Trump's running mate? We also were getting hints maybe there was at least going to be a serious hint or suggestion at this rally last night. Obviously, that did not come. So there are even bigger doings and more security concerns going into this next week now.
Yeah, politically, again, it can't not be a political issue because it's a political candidate and a former president. But that's a big question that needs to be answered. And I think even more importantly, politically, is, we've seen the firestorm that the Biden campaign's having to deal with since that miserable debate performance, and the calls from at least 20 elected Democratic lawmakers on Capitol Hill asking the former president to step down in light of an assassination attempt against his political rival. Is that off the table now? What will the folks that wanted Biden to step down do now? Is it appropriate to continue to ask Biden? At the very least, this has bought the current president some political time to figure things out. I wouldn't imagine when lawmakers they're off this week, but when they get back next week, I can't imagine we're going to see continued calls for the current president to step off of the ticket.
It seems the reports we had Friday were that one word was a deluge, and one of the reports CBS News was reporting there were dozens of Democrats were about to come forward any minute and demand that Mr. Biden step down. It has not happened, and certainly the events of the weekend will prevent it from happening today. You asked Professor Swint about this, and he tended to agree with what you were saying right there, that more time that goes by now, the more that effort is likely to fade. But he did tell us that in his view, this that happened last night and that we're following up today will become not the defining issue necessarily, but the defining moment around which the rest of this presidential campaign will be formed and fought and certainly remembered for long into the future. If you're just joining us, we will have From the Top the latest news, weather, and traffic just about 2.5 minutes from now. Our coverage continues just after that. Mark Aram with Chris Chandler here on WSB. Stay with us.
WSB Atlanta, WSBB FM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Protect your family with a new roof and give hope to families facing childhood cancer. Hi, it's Dave Baker. Findlay Roofing, the roof guys, are supporting the WSB Carathon, benefiting Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Findlay will donate $100 from every roof replacement sold between now and July 26, guaranteeing a donation of at least $10,000. Time to replace your roof? Think of Findlay first and give families hope for a cancer-free tomorrow. Schedule at findlayroofing.com. Roof.
At City of Hope, we are driven to stop lung cancer, to respond to its every change, its every mutation with a new treatment approach, to meet the most complex cases with the latest innovations, to analyze cancer down to its DNA, then fight it with the newest surgical, radiation, and immunotherapies, to never give up, so you can be driven by hope. Learn more at cityofhope.org.
When it comes to my lifestyle and diet, I don't always make the smartest choices.
Touchdown! Woo! Hey, how about another round and some more chips?
But when it comes to taking care of my liver, I do make one very smart choice. Active liver tablets from New Nordic. I used to have real issues with my liver, and at my last checkup, my doc was concerned about my numbers. But since adding a once-a-day active liver tablet, my gut's better, I feel great, and my doctor's happy. I ask a lot of my liver, so the least I can do to say thanks is a daily dose of Active Liver.
You ask a lot of your liver, so give it the support it needs with Active Liver. You can find Active Liver at Amazon.com or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. Or for a volume discount, visit NewNordicUSA.com. Go to new, NORDICUSA.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS.
News,
weather,
traffic, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 11 o'clock, I'm Tina Douglas. Our top story, of course, is the attempted assassination of former President Trump, who posted on Truth Social for the first time since his assassination attempt during a rally in Pennsylvania on Saturday. He thanked people for their thoughts and prayers. CBS News consultant and former Secret Service Deputy Director A.T. Smith says the counter-assault team protected Trump in the way they were trained to do so.
If you think of security and the plan that goes into an outdoor event, there's three concentric rings of security: an outer perimeter, an middle perimeter, and an inner perimeter. Outside of that farther outer perimeter is what the counter sniper team is for.
President Biden and many others condemned the attack. The shooter has been identified as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. He was shot and killed by the Secret Service. One rally attendee was killed and 2 others are in critical condition. And we're learning from our own Chris Chandler, who says ABC News is reporting that the shooter's father legally purchased the gun, an AR-style rifle. Investigators say he fired at least 8 rounds before he was killed. A motive is still unknown. We know he was a registered Republican. Special investigators are searching his home for evidence. CBS News investigative reporter Megan Schiller spoke to the shooter's neighbor, Kelly Little.
When they came and knocked on your door and told you to leave the house, what did you know at that time? Anything?
Nothing. It was a state of emergency. That was it. And then I started hearing rumors shortly after about there being a bomb, which was just confirmed when I went to the Bethel Park Police Station and asked them what the hell was going on.
President Biden and former President Barack Obama have both condemned the attack. Now Secret Service protocols have been called into question. Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene telling WSB,
"We need to understand the failures there. I'm more interested in making sure that they have had adequate resources and the manpower that they need to protect President Trump's life."
The Secret Service has come under increased scrutiny for not preventing the shooting from occurring. A full investigation is underway. Meanwhile, thousands are expected to travel to Milwaukee this week for the GOP National Convention. More security protocols will be in order. President Trump says he plans to speak to attendees, but it's unclear if he will be there in person. Political experts are reacting to the attempted assassination of former President Trump and the death of at least one rally-goer.
ASU professor Kerwin Swent says a man with a rifle in a high place taking aim at a president reminds him of only one thing.
Immediately you're taken back to the JFK assassination.
Professor Swent says an event like this will likely help Trump at the polls.
Trump supporters, Republicans, a lot of independent voters are going to be even more motivated to go and support Donald Trump after this.
But it could also have an effect on American voters' psyche.
That's just the kind of tragedy that is going to be felt by all Americans. Someone going to a political rally is shot and killed. That's huge.
Steve Summers, 95.5 WSB.
Live team coverage of traffic and weather is next. It's 11:03.
Hey, folks, it's hot outside. Way too hot to walk my dogs without burning their paws. But they still need exercise. So we resorted to playing with the dogs in the backyard. My family uses Arrow exterminators, and we haven't been bitten by a single tick or mosquito all summer. I reached out to Arrow exterminators and Ken, my team member. He protected the entire house and outdoor space using the most effective and environmentally friendly solutions available. Don't let bugs or pests ruin your summer fun. Now is the perfect time to take control of those pests before they invade your home or yard. Call today at 888-GO-ARROW or visit arrowexterminators.com for your free home or business pest inspection. Arrow Exterminators has been family owned for over 60 years and stands by their work with a 100% customer satisfaction guarantee. Remember, call 888-GO-ARROW or visit arrowexterminators.com and tell them Belinda sent you.
On an MSC cruise, beauty is everywhere. It's in the thrill of a water slide, top-notch entertainment, and in quieter propellers. It's in the sunset and that toast on your very first night on board. For a limited time, discover the beauty of Ocean Key, MSC's private island marine reserve, and more destinations with drinks and Wi-Fi included, plus up to $400 onboard credit. MSC Cruises, for a greater beauty. To book, visit msccruises.com or contact your travel advisor. Restrictions apply. Ships registered in Panama and Malta.
And a lot of people, when they come in, they'll say, I'm usually much more active, but since I've been in pain, I've had to limit the activities I'm doing.
You're listening to Janelle, an arch support specialist at the Good Feet store.
The next step is getting them in the right arch supports. After walking around with the arch supports, they'll feel much freer and lighter. Our goal is to have that long-term change for them to make sure that they're continuing to notice a difference in their life.
Try them for yourself with a free fitting at the Good Feet store.
The Good Feet store. Call 1-800-NEW-FEET or visit goodfeet.com.
It's 11:05. Andrew Seco has your latest traffic update from the 24-hour traffic center.
Looking right now, just some volume on the downtown connector. Volume starting to fill in southbound. Delays stretching from 17th down to North Avenue. Elsewhere in Henry County, seeing some usual weekend volume. 75 southbound starting to slow down on and off from 675 down towards Jonesboro Road. Exit 222. I'm Jackson Heaton, 95.5 WSB.
I'm Channel 2 Action News Chief Meteorologist Brad Nitz with Atlanta's most accurate and dependable weather forecast. Mostly sunny and very hot today near the record high of 98. Tomorrow will start mostly sunny and 76, 98 in the afternoon again with a partly cloudy sky giving way to some isolated showers and storms. Rain chance Monday at 30%. 40% chance of afternoon storms Tuesday. They'll be scattered. High of 95.
92 degrees in Midtown, and we continue with our in-depth coverage of the attempted assassination of Donald Trump with Chris Chandler and Mark Arum.
Tina, thank you. It has indeed been a frightening and historic 18 hours. I'm Chris Chandler. Mark is here with me. Our coverage will continue live and from the WSB studios through the rest of the afternoon. Mark and I are here until noon. Eric Erickson takes over then, and he will be on the air until at least 5 o'clock. So you can stay here with us. If we hear from Biden, if we hear from Trump, if we hear from anybody in any position of authority, from any law enforcement agency speaking publicly, we will, of course, bring that to you as well. We'll also have the ability here, staying local, to bring you the latest local reaction, rounding up the news events around the metro, too.
Yeah, Chris, we got off the air 12 hours ago right now when we were anchoring our coverage last night. It was 12 hours ago. With so much new information in the last 12 hours. The name of the assassin, now deceased, Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, and new information breaking within the last hour concerning evidence found, apparently explosives found in his automobile, and the firearm that was used in the assassination attempt legally purchased by the suspect's father.
Indeed, and CNN's also reporting that they found some explosive materials in this house we have been talking about, which he has some connection to. It's being portrayed as his house, but we can't say for sure if it's a family home, a rental home, what it is exactly.
Yeah, and at 20 years old, an outlier for sure, considering we have the assassin's name now, and we see no posting on social media. And it's reported that he was a registered Republican, but has donated to Democratic leading causes. I at 20 years old, certainly wasn't donating to any political causes. So that strikes me as odd that a 20-year-old already has a history of political donations. There's still a lot of questions to be answered.
A complete cipher we have come to expect. That anybody, right, you can track them through social media and find out just about anything you want to know at this point. Facebook stalk or Twitter stalk or look at them on LinkedIn or just Google the name. This young fellow, by all accounts, we heard from ABC's Aaron Katersky a little while ago, had none of that. And he also, we're told, had no ID on him when they went and found the body after they took him down yesterday afternoon. It seems pretty clear that he did not want to have left behind much of an imprint other than the actions he was taking. That in itself, in a case like this, Mark, is actually pretty unusual.
Yeah, very unusual, and we're going to continue to monitor the situation. Really waiting to hear from the Secret Service. A lot of questions for them to answer. Again, 12 hours after we got off the air last night with our coverage, hearing from more witnesses, including Dr. Jim Sweetland. He's an emergency room physician. He was at the Trump rally when the assassination attempt happened.
And I did so for about 2 minutes. And then I was tapped on the shoulder, and two of the biggest Pennsylvania State Police officers I've ever seen were behind me, and they said, "We'll take him." And they picked him up, unfortunately, like a rag doll, and took him from the stands.
Yeah, that's Dr. Jim Sweetland. He was administering CPR to one of the victims who was shot in the head. We don't know if that was the victim that is deceased or one of the two victims that is in critical condition currently in Pennsylvania.
We have heard over time, as the media reports come out and as people manage to get out of where they had been sort of penned in there until they were allowed to leave, more and more of those eyewitness accounts. And as we expected, what we saw and you heard and saw over and over again for the first couple hours last evening was media footage taken from one vantage point. But of course, there were 100 people around there taking cell phone video and audio as well. We began to get more and more of that we can share with you as well. This is the sound. This is not what you heard last night. This is the events from a different angle further back, and you can hear a much more clear account of what eyewitnesses saw just as this was happening. Listen.
He's going down! Stay over here. He's on top of the roof. Don't go over there. He's on the roof, buddy.
He's dead. I just seen his hair go up. They shot him in the head. He's dead. Holy.
Well, if they hit anybody over there.
Did he pull up a shot?
He number of shots.
I thought that was ours.
No, that was him. The first two shots were him.
He's on the ridge right there.
Just an incredible listen here.
Remarkable.
These people were all fine here. They managed to get out and then posted this online a little bit later. Just an incredible listen. That's a real second-by-second account, almost really sort of narrated for us of what happened.
Can I just jump in with an observation, Chris?
Certainly.
We've seen videos like this, not of a presidential assassination attempt, but we all here in Atlanta, we see it all too often, a shooting at a mall, right? And we see the video, and as soon as the shots are fired, what happens?
People scatter.
Everybody flees. It didn't happen.
No.
It didn't happen. Now, I don't know if it was they weren't sure what was going on, but if you look at the video, there was no a mass stampede for the exits. It was eerily different than other videos we've seen from shootings like this.
One thing that we couldn't understand right off last night until we figured out more about what had happened with the people behind the president, not only was nobody hurt there, in all of this, nobody moved.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. They saw him go down, and still there was no kind of panic or stampede, anything like that. And if anything, some of the people came running down from the front of the crowd down below to try and render assistance. The Secret Service had moved in by then.
Pretty remarkable, for sure.
This is a man named Joseph who was sitting just in that exact spot behind former President Trump in the bleachers, and he called it, with some understatement, a harrowing moment, how it went next.
Initially, like firecrackers went off. It was very confusing initially because I knew it was gunfire, but I couldn't quite tell where it was coming from. It sounded like it was coming from behind the bleachers, and the man in the bleachers, kind of to the right of me in the bleachers, took a gunshot wound to the head. Was killed, and another woman, I don't know exactly where she was in the bleachers. I think she was either behind me or to the right of me. She got around she got hit in the forearm and hand, it looked like, but if she was wounded, she wasn't killed.
Can I ask you how you're feeling? Obviously, you just witnessed something terrible happen. A lot of chaos was in the room. How exactly are you feeling right now, Joseph?
It's something you don't expect. It's a bullet out of the blue, so it's very shocking. It's just, I think a lot of people in the crowd just thought it was fireworks going off. I knew immediately it was gunshots. I knew they were close, and then when I saw someone get hit and go down, that's when I knew it was probably serious. It was a lot of confusion. It's just massive confusion, throughout the event. I saw Donald Trump get hit. It looked like he was either, I was running my camera at the time, but it looked like he was just turning his head to the side, and it looked like he got grazed in the right ear with a bullet. I kind of saw that go on, and then I looked down, I saw that the man, had died in the bleachers. It was just complete pandemonium. There was a bit of a delay, there was a lot of confusion, but immediately, it seemed like more gunfire erupted. I couldn't figure out where that was coming from, and then, there was a state policeman there. I believe a SWAT team, showed up relatively quickly. They jumped the side. There was a fence, it was next to the bleachers. They jumped the bleachers and started clearing the bleachers. And then I helped carry the body of the man down out of the bleachers, and they took him to a tent behind the bleachers. We put a towel over his head, but he is deceased.
And so with all that, question for Joseph, upon immediate consideration, how about going to another political rally for anybody in the future?
Yeah. It's a very random event that happens. I feel safe generally where I go in the country. I think the problem is we have everyone seems very angry, and it makes you kind of, I'll go to a Trump rally again, but I'll think twice. You definitely want to have your head on the swivel. It just seems like there's a lot of angry people out there, and I'm not shocked that this happened. I'm shocked that I was sitting there and it happened next to me. Obviously, you never anticipate that to happen, but It's just horrible. We shouldn't be at a level of political discourse in this country where this is going on. It feels like it's 1960 again. It's horrible.
We have heard an awful lot and on a variety of stories. This feels an awful lot like 1968. I've kind of poo-pooed it, Mark Arum. Maybe up until this. Maybe there's something to that.
Indeed. Continue our team coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Nicole Skanga is the Homeland Security reporter from CBS News on Face the Nation and what the investigators are looking into now.
We are told by law enforcement officials that there was a tip to Butler County Sheriff's Office regarding this suspicious individual when the rally was just getting started, that bystanders had seen this individual walking around, that had reported this suspicious person. Officials lost sight of where he was.
That's incredible new information that before the president even started speaking, he was reported as a suspicious individual. And then the authorities lost track of the suspect. Minutes later, the suspect crawled up the side of the shed, popped up on the roof, and then immediately began shooting. He was lying flat on the shed, not walking or standing. There was very little time passed between when he popped out and when shots rang out. The suspect, we're now being told, fired 6 to 8 rounds using a semi-automatic AR-15 approximately 400 feet from the podium. Not far at all. From home plate to center field at Truist Park is the distance there.
About it, yeah.
The USS counter sniper teams had him within seconds. The threat was neutralized almost immediately after the shots were fired. More from Nicole Skanga, who is the CBS Homeland Security reporter on Face the Nation this morning.
Officials lost sight of where he was. Once he did emerge on that shed, of course, individuals spotted him, police spotted him, and it was the counter sniper team with the U.S. Secret Service that, I'm told, had him within seconds.
New information coming fast and furious here. We'll bring it to you live throughout the day. Mark Arum and Chris Chandler with you till noon. Eric Erickson will take the helm at 12. We know more than we did 2 hours ago, and in 2 hours we'll know more than we did now. Our coverage continues after a quick break on 95.5 WSB.
July 4th blowout savings have been extended at BrandsMart USA. Name brand appliances, TVs, electronics, furniture, mattresses, and more. It's time for you to upgrade with the lowest prices of the year. Save hundreds, save thousands. Plus, promotional financing is available. The July 4th blowout has been extended at BrandsMart USA in Doraville, Stockbridge, and now open in Kennesaw and Barrett Parkway and online at BrandsMartUSA.com. BrandsMart USA. Favorite brands, lowest prices. See store website for details.
Hey, it's Belinda. Can I ask you a question? When was the last time you had an annual service inspection of your home's plumbing? If the answer is it's been a while, then it might be time to call my friends at PlumWorks, Atlanta's premier residential and commercial plumbers. Not only are they experts in everyday plumbing needs, but they also offer annual inspections to help you catch any small problems before they turn into costly issues. Fast, friendly, and always reliable, PlumWorks is a family-owned and operated company that's been serving Atlanta for over 30 years. Whether it's a plain old leaky faucet, getting a whole pipe replaced, or installing the latest smart home plumbing technology, PlumWorks can do it all. To schedule a service visit with PlumWorks, go to plumworksinc.com or call 404-524-1825. That's PlumWorks, 404-524-1825. Call today or online at plumworksinc.com.
With affordable dentures and implants summer savings, new denture wearers can get a free upgrade to premium dentures for the price of an economy denture. That's an average of $700 in savings. Offer ends July 22nd. So don't miss out on the summer savings. Call 1-800-DENTURE today. That's 1-800-DENTURE. Visit one of their 14 locations in the Atlanta area. Restrictions apply. Go to AffordableDentures.com to learn more.
Go ahead and smile. Get ready. Diamonds Direct will forever change the way you shop for jewelry. With over 80 years experience in direct sourcing, Diamonds Direct is finally opening in Atlanta. Customers across the Southeast know Diamonds Direct for their unbeatable selection and prices, but return again and again because of their unparalleled customer experience. The experts at Diamonds Direct are your advocate in the dizzying world of diamonds, ensuring you are nothing shy of confident in your purchase. How do they do it? With the best selection, the best quality, and the best price. In fact, Diamonds Direct guarantees they won't just meet any local price, they'll beat it. So if you can dream it, Diamonds Direct can deliver it. Build your own engagement ring, tap into their custom design studio, or choose from hundreds of ready-to-wear styles. No other jeweler can maximize your budget like Diamonds Direct. Diamonds Direct, coming soon to Buckhead and ready to amaze Atlanta with the best selection, the best quality, the best price, and the best people guaranteed.
I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, debunking 3 myths about fiduciaries. And you're going to be surprised about myth number 3. Myth number 1. Fiduciaries are too expensive. Not at Trajan Wealth. Our interests are aligned with yours, so we don't need to push costly investments. The more you make, the more we make. It's that simple. Myth number 2, they will only want to sell me something. Absolutely not. At Trajan Wealth, we have hearts of teachers, and it's our goal to educate and empower, not sell. And the biggest myth, myth number 3, fiduciaries are only for the wealthy. Not at Trajan Wealth. Whether you have 50 grand or 50 million, we know it was hard-earned and we'll treat it as such. Let's grow together. So, here's your opportunity for 100% complimentary professional Q&A. Call Trajan today at 678-888-3300. That's 678-888-3300.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Trump crouched a little bit, but the forced Secret Service jumped on the stage, pushed him down to the ground, and then pushed all the reporters down that were down on the ground, too. There was like a pile of 5 of them.
That's Erin Outenright, a witness to the assassination of President Trump. We heard from her last night, Chris, during our coverage here on 95.5 WSB. She was in the front row when the shooting happened. And we mentioned, the bravery, the stoicism, whatever you want to call it, of the Trump supporters in the first rows before and behind him, and not fleeing, not running. It's worth noting that those folks get there the earliest. They show up at 7, 8 a.m.
Stand in the heat.
Yeah, so they are the fiercest Trump loyalists that get there so early to get that prime real estate in front of and behind the president. And they witnessed history yesterday. Sad history, of course.
That new info that you and Nicole Skanga just passed along, that is of some import, because it may cast at least some of this criticism in a slightly different light. One of the first eyewitnesses we had on the air last night, for example, was saying, I told the police about this fellow and they didn't do anything. As it turns out, they did.
Yeah, they were alerted, and apparently it's about 6 minutes before the first report of a suspicious individual was reported to police and the first shot fired. So it happened quickly. Again, there's still questions to be answered by the Secret Service and the Pennsylvania State Patrol on how it happened and why weren't there assets on top of that roof with a clear line of sight to the president's podium?
That certainly still will be a big question. So this is saying that the county sheriff personnel had sight on him, lost track of him for a couple minutes. He crawled up the side of the shed, then popped up on the roof quickly, then immediately began shooting. He was lying flat on the shed, not walking or standing, and these sources in law enforcement, in the government, say there was very little time that passed between when he popped up and when shots rang out. That is something of an attempted defense, at least, of law enforcers here. And they say that the Secret Service counter-sniper teams had him within seconds once those shots rang out, start to finish, as you just said, Mark, they're estimating 6 minutes, harrowing 6 minutes.
And we heard earlier from Republican Congressman Corey Mills from Florida about the situation, and he has expert in this field. He was a former military sniper, and according to Congressman Mills, the now dead suspect, the assassin, Thomas Matthew Crooks, obviously an amateur because any skilled marksman would have completed that kill shot, if you will.
The bottom line is that I can tell you with absolute certainty,
if you put me at 200 yards, we were trained that anything within 300 yards and in, you would only do what they call hollow tees, which is here and here. That is your only mark in which you're actually aiming and shooting for. Anything beyond that, you basically do a center mass shot. When you're talking 230 yards, I will tell you that I can look on target, get on target, and then close my eyes and pull the trigger and still hit a man-sized target silhouette all day long.
There you go. So Congressman Corey Mills from Florida.
Yeah, I don't get a lot of that. I don't know if you do, but the takeaway I think from that is he was not an expert assassin or even a very good marksman.
Yeah, exactly. But even with the lack of skill, it was millimeters away from murdering the former president.
And killed a man and badly hurt 2 other people. Just getting word that President Biden will speak this afternoon, possibly in the noon hour, as we all have discovered even this past week. If you didn't realize that our president is never, ever prompt, so it is likely to be sometime after that, even on this occasion. But when the president does speak, of course you will hear it live here on WSB. And some of the most recent reaction that we are getting is from Democratic U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock of Georgia, who spends Sunday, of course, as a pastor. Here's a little bit of what he had to say within the last hour.
Finally, across the yawning chasm of our partisan differences, we must be very clear that yesterday's attack is an attack on all of us because it is an attack on democracy, the sacred and precious right of the American people to choose and to do so non-violently. And if we lose that, we lose the very idea of America, right?
Mark, Senator Warnock making an on-mic statement here. We had a brief statement printed from him last night, which is what we also have had from Senator Jon Ossoff. Nothing out loud from him. We have, of course, invited him on our coverage today, and he's welcome at any time if he'd like to come on and say something. Yeah.
And quickly, on the other side of the aisle on Fox News Sunday, Michael Whatley, RNC chairman, a day before the Republican National Convention.
I think it's tremendously important for us as a country that the Republican Party is going to move forward. We are going to be strong. We are going to be resilient. And certainly President Trump is going to be strong and resilient.
We'll see what happens tomorrow starting in Milwaukee. We'll have coverage of the Republican National Convention throughout the week on 95.5 WSB. Still to come in this last half hour of our special coverage here with Chris Chandler and Mark Arum. We're going to talk to Scott McFarland again, who joined us live yesterday, firsthand account of the presidential assassination. We'll revisit our interview with Aaron Katersky from ABC News. He is currently at the scene right now, the active crime scene up there in Butler, Pennsylvania. And, of course, the new news is coming in fast. As soon as we get it, we'll bring it to you live. 2 minutes away from news, weather, and traffic, then our special in-depth team coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump will continue on 95.5 WSB.
On an MSC cruise, beauty is everywhere. It's in the thrill of a water slide, top-notch entertainment, and in quieter propellers. It's in the sunset and that toast on your very first night on board. For a limited time, discover the beauty of Ocean Key, MSC's private island marine reserve, and more destinations with drinks and Wi-Fi included, plus up to $400 onboard credit. MSC Cruises, for a greater beauty. To book, visit msccruises.com or contact your travel advisor. Restrictions apply. Ships registered in Panama and Malta.
At City of Hope, we are driven to stop lung cancer, to respond to its every change, its every mutation with a new treatment approach, to meet the most complex cases with the latest innovations, to analyze cancer down to its DNA, then fight it with the newest surgical, radiation, and immunotherapies, to never give up, so you can be driven by hope. Learn more at cityofhope.org.
If you're seeing cracks in your drywall, stucco, bricks, around doors and windows, or in your flooring, you may have a foundation problem. Doug Turnbull here. Call Atlanta Ramjack. Foundation repair is all they do. Get your free inspection. Just Google Atlanta Ramjack.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
Good morning at 11:30. I'm Tina Douglas. Our top story again is the continuing coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. We're learning more every hour about the young man who shot at former President Donald Trump on Saturday at a rally in Pennsylvania. Investigators now say that explosives were found in the car of the 20-year-old assailant. We're also learning, according to ABC News, that the weapon used, an AR-15 style rifle, was legally purchased by the man's father. The shooter, identified as Thomas Matthews Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, was shot and killed by Secret Service officers shortly after he opened fire on Trump. What's in question is how he was able to get on the roof of an adjacent building next to the rally venue and fire at least 8 rounds without being detected. It's caused increased scrutiny and some criticism of the Secret Service. Condemnation is coming from both sides of the aisle. President Biden, who said he spoke with former President Trump last night after it happened. He's called the shooting sick. We get the latest from CBS News.
Special report. We are learning more about the attempted assassination of former President Trump at a rally yesterday in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, where 20-year-old Thomas Crooks shot at Trump from a nearby rooftop. CBS's Scott McFarland.
Law enforcement sources tell CBS News Crooks fired an AR-style rifle from the top of a shed about 200 to 300 feet away from where Trump was speaking. At least one spectator was killed, and 2 others were injured.
Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman condemned the attack on CNN.
I just can't believe that this is the place where our nation is there, because we have this election coming up. It's hard to really understand.
President Biden called this type of violence sick. Republican Congressman Steve Scalise also weighing in.
We need to dial the rhetoric down, and there's been a lot of rhetoric for the last few months.
Former President Trump is expected to attend this week's Republican convention. It starts tomorrow in Milwaukee. CBS News Special Report. I'm Monica Ricks.
Former President Trump posted on Truth Social for the first time since his assassination attempt. During that rally, he thanked people for their thoughts and prayers. Emergency room physician Dr. Jim Sweetland was at the Trump rally and says he administered CPR to someone who was shot in the head.
And I did so for about 2 minutes. And then I was tapped on the shoulder, and 2 of the biggest Pennsylvania State Police officers I've ever seen were behind me, and they said, "We'll take him." And they picked him up, unfortunately, like a rag doll, and took him from the stands.
Our in-depth coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Trump continues right here on 95.5 WSB with Chris Chandler and Mark Aram. It's 11:32.
Sell your home stress-free this summer with the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. Skip the hassle of a traditional home sale while receiving the strongest cash offer on your home. Hi, it's Chris Chandler. Don't worry about repainting your scuffed-up walls or fixing your leaky faucet. With the guaranteed offer, you can eliminate the costly repairs and sell your home in as little as 21 days. With more than 58,000 satisfied clients, you can trust my friends at Mark Spain Real Estate to sell your home quickly and for the most money. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing.
High five! Up top! Heck yeah!
Dave's company just got the first ever 5-year price lock guarantee from Comcast Business.
Yeah, 5 years!
It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
High five for gig speed.
5 years of advanced security.
Security win.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Our rate ain't changing.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability.
There it is.
He hasn't given this many high fives since Deborah brought in her famous banana bread.
Woohoo!
Now he's got savings.
I'm so excited.
Yep, Dave's feeling it. But it's only for a limited time, so don't wait. Switch today and ask how to get the first ever 5-year price lock guarantee from Comcast Business. Powering 5 years of savings. Powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
And it's hurting, but I am not stopping.
Woo! Ends 8/21/24. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
Hey, is that old car just out there in your yard, sitting there in the garage? Are you tired of looking at it? Really tired of your spouse complaining about it, but you don't have the time to take care of it? Hey, your friend Sean Hannity here to help you solve your problem. Now, my friends at Cars for Kids, they offer an easy online form, and you could schedule a very quick, hassle-free pickup. Cars for Kids, they're going to tow it away the very next day. It is the quickest, easiest way to get rid of any unused vehicle. Just go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
Overhead Door Company of Atlanta is hiring residential garage door technicians and installers. You can earn a hiring bonus up to $2,500. Apply today at overheaddooratlanta.com. Overheaddooratlanta.com.
It's 11:35 and time for a traffic update. Jackson Heaton is in the 24-hour traffic center.
So just watching some volume on the downtown connector 7585 southbound starting at the 7585 merge. That takes you down through the Georgia Tech area. Elsewhere in Henry County, seeing some volume build. 75 southbound starting to slow down on and off from 675 down towards Jonesboro Road. I'm Jackson Heaton, 95.5 WSB.
I'm Channel 2 Action News Chief Meteorologist Brad Nitz with Atlanta's most accurate and dependable weather forecast. Lots of sunshine and hot today near the record high in the upper 90s. That record is 98. Overnight and into Monday morning down to 76. 97 with scattered storms back Monday afternoon. Rain chance 40%. And then for Tuesday, we'll keep 40% chance of scattered showers and storms in the afternoon. High 95.
92 degrees in Atlanta. Now for more in-depth coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump.
Tina, thank you. I'm Chris Chandler with Mark Air. I'm here in the WSB 24-hour news center. Our live and local in-depth team coverage continues through the afternoon here on WSB. Mark and I carrying on till noon. Eric Erickson live with you just after that. Two of the most recent important pieces of information. We will hear from President Biden directly and possibly shortly. It's tentatively set for at some point in the noon hour. That is a fluid time, as we say in the news business. It could be some time after that, but in any case, you'll hear it live when President Biden does speak. And a statement from Melania Trump, the former First Lady, of course, Donald Trump's wife. I am thinking of you now, my fellow Americans. We have always been a unique nation. America, the fabric of our gentle nation, is tattered, but our courage and common sense must ascend and bring us back together as one. She goes on to issue a call for unity and says, when I watched the violent bullets strike my husband, Donald, I realized my life and Barron's life were on the brink of devastating change. I am grateful to the brave Secret Service agents and law enforcement agents who risked their own lives to protect my husband. Her statement follows a social media post from her husband, the former president, early this morning, which was also remarkably free of any type of the invective for which his social media is known. As we all know, this was also a call to unity and a call for Americans to come together.
And Chris, I think it's a wake-up call, too, for anyone in the public eye, especially politicians that can rattle cages on both sides. The fact that, it's a new world out there.
And grace of God, it could be any of them.
Exactly.
And certainly they know it. Certainly they know it.
One more update from D.C. correspondent Melanie Zanota. This is new in the last 5 minutes. The House GOP will have a member call at 2 p.m. today, where the House Sergeant-Arms is expected to provide a security update for lawmakers. Many Republicans, of course, will start arriving in Milwaukee today and tomorrow for the convention. So there'll be a member call at 2 p.m. today, which we think will follow the address to the nation from President Biden.
ABC News correspondent Aaron Katersky has arrived in Pennsylvania now. He is on the scene where this happened last night. Mark and I talked to him a short time ago, and if you didn't hear it, we'll let you hear it now.
Good morning. This entire area where the Trump rally was is blocked off. You can't even get anywhere near it. People just dropped everything, including our camera crew. Dropped all their gear, and they haven't been allowed in to collect it. So this is still very much an active crime scene as the authorities try to figure out why this young man from here in western Pennsylvania, 20 years old, was able to fire from a rooftop position with an AR-style rifle. He popped off about 8 shots, the authorities tell us, before he was taken down by a counter sniper from the Secret Service.
20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks has been identified as the sniper, the assassin. He's deceased from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. You're in Pennsylvania, obviously a huge crime scene at Butler where the rally was held. Do we have any idea what's going on at the residence of Crooks over in Bethel Park?
The authorities have been there and to other locations associated with the shooter. We're told they've talked to family members. We're not sure what they've gleaned from those interviews. We're told that he doesn't appear to have obvious social media posts, but they're undoubtedly going through search histories to see if he was steeped in the kind of disinformation and propaganda that's become all too familiar to most Americans through these things. And they want to urgently learn why he did this, and then also why he was able to do it. So it's a two-pronged investigation about the shooter himself, and then why that rooftop position was available for him to use to fire off his shots. Because elevated positions, the authorities are well aware, pose the most danger in these environments. Think about the Las Vegas shooting. Think even about the assassination of President Kennedy, again, from an elevated position.
Aaron Katersky joining us live in Pennsylvania on 95.5 WSB. At the press conference yesterday, we didn't get much information from the FBI and local Pennsylvania authorities. They deferred a lot of the questions to the Secret Service. Have you spoken to any members of the Secret Service? Are they going to hold a press conference today? What's the latest on that side of the investigation?
We expect that we would hear from the authorities at some point today, but they weren't definitive about it, and I think they want, of course, have something to say. So they've identified the shooter and done so publicly. Perhaps they're waiting to see whether they'll be able to say more about motive or what may have motivated him. They're undoubtedly at some point going to have to let people back into the venue to get their belongings. So there will be a logistics piece. And then, of course, everybody wants to know why and why this happened and what the plan is going to be going forward. Because I can tell you the Secret Service almost immediately began to reassess security for the Republican National Convention that starts tomorrow in Milwaukee. They're surging resources into Milwaukee just to make sure they have a greater presence, but they're also evaluating some of the events associated with the convention, some of which were scheduled to be in outdoor venues like this one.
Aaron, this is Chris Chandler, also in Atlanta. We appreciate your time. Let me ask you that question about the gunman sort of in reverse. What do we know about him? Because it seems very little here still almost 16 hours later.
Yeah, not a lot. We know he's 20 years old, graduated from a local school. We've seen the graduation photos, and the authorities have been able to talk to friends. Nothing terribly revealing has emerged as of this point. So it's not clear, why he was a registered Republican according to available records. Whether that factors in anything, we don't know. But the
All right, it flaked out on me there. Very sorry. Well, that was that you were hearing ABC News correspondent Aaron Katersky. Mark and I talked to him a little bit. No, I'm not going to be able to get that back, Mark.
That's
Mark,
okay.
Sorry. All right.
I've got some new audio if you don't mind. And
let's do that. Sure.
This is going to sound like a spoof, but I promise you this is the witness's name. John David Longo, the mayor of Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. This is legitimate.
What is this?
Yes, John David Longo is his name. He is the mayor of Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. He was at the rally when the assassination attempt happened yesterday.
We started to yell out and make sure that everybody else around us would get down to the ground too, because they were still peeking their heads up in curiosity, trying to figure out what was going on. So luckily we were able to get everybody around us to get their heads down.
Yeah, as we get more and more eyewitnesses to the attack. That was the mayor of Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania.
Everybody will have a story to tell, certainly, and it's one of these things we have heard from people who were there, from the mayor of Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania, up to United States senators who were nearby, and they all tell kind of the same tale of just a horrifying few minutes. President Biden may be in the noon hour. Likely to be somewhat after that, but he's having a national security briefing this morning, so we certainly will be wanting to know if he will provide any information, as well as giving a national pep talk, as it is certain to be. And Mark, we have not heard for sure whether or not we're going to hear from Mr. Trump himself at some point this afternoon. If I had to guess, I would say almost certainly, but we can't say for sure.
No, I would imagine we are going to hear from him. It'll most likely be on a video that is posted on Truth Social or other media. But, he is going to be heading to Milwaukee. Obviously, the Republican National Convention starts tomorrow on the backdrop of an assassination attempt of the presumptive nominee. Ed O'Keefe is the CBS News senior White House correspondent. He's in Milwaukee.
Remember, the reason Joe Biden ran for president in 2020, beginning in 2019, was because of what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. The reason he sustains his reelection campaign today, one of the big reasons he continues running, he says, is to restore and protect American democracy in the wake of the January 6, 2021 attacks.
And we can only guess what we're going to hear from the president. Again, he's expected to address the nation this afternoon, hopefully shortly. We don't know what he's going to say, but we know up until this point, the Biden campaign has suspended all ads, and I suspect a massive shift in tone of the campaign going forward.
What we have got to hear from the former president at some point, and presumably this week, is who will be his running mates into the November election campaign. He has held that very close to the vest. If he has made his choice, there was some talk that he might have at least offered a hint or suggestion or, initials or something yesterday. That did not come to fruition. So that adds to the level of drama and intrigue, and frankly will add something to the level of security that we will have to see in Milwaukee next week.
Indeed. Chris Chandler at 11:45. Mark Arum and Chris Chandler with our exclusive team coverage, in-depth team coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Chris, can you take the wheel for 30 seconds? I've got to figure out what guest we have on the line right now.
I can certainly do that. 11:46 here, and if you will stay with us through the afternoon, Mark and I will hand over to Erick Erickson at noon. He will be live on the air with you through at least 5 o'clock. Any developments that happen during that time, you will hear right here, including those remarks, which we can tell you we expect from President Biden. Anything that you think, anything that we might hear from former President Trump himself, of course, will bring you any law enforcement briefings. These have taken on just the utmost import now, not only because the information has been so sparse so far, but also because there is this dispute swirling over whether the Secret Service did, as fully as it should have, its job in, first of all, preventing this from happening, and second of all, leaping into action as quickly as it might have. It's a matter of 2 or 3 seconds that they're arguing about there once the shots rang out. But of course, when you're talking urgent matters of life and death like that, and when you're talking the U.S. Secret Service, everything is measured in that way, and it's a question.
State Senator Derek Mallow, District 2, now joining us live as we continue our team coverage. Senator, good morning. Thanks for your time.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Your immediate reaction to the assassination attempt of former President Trump yesterday in Pennsylvania?
My immediate reaction is this type of behavior in American politics is unacceptable, and we have to get back to the normal where we can have disagreement. However, that doesn't result in violence. We take that energy and we turn that into either protest or we go to the ballot box and we vote. But what we don't do is choose violence in politics. That's unacceptable.
Senator, does this change the dynamic of campaign 2024? Do you think we'll see a shift in both the Biden campaign and the Trump campaign after what the tragedy that happened yesterday in Pennsylvania?
I hope everyone engaged in politics, not just those that are competing for the highest office in the land, will tamp down the rhetoric. We have to watch the vernacular terminology we use. And again, all sides, more importantly, we just have to make sure that whatever we do and say, that there is someone always watching, someone that's always listening. And you just have to be very careful.
Senator Mallow, Democrat from Savannah. This is Chris Chandler, also in Atlanta, sir. That's an optimistic outlook you have just voiced here. What do you think of some of the comments that have been issued by some Republican lawmakers, including a couple very prominent ones here in Georgia, blaming this on the Biden administration, Biden followers, cable news, and so forth, making literally, in a couple of the cases, no effort at a call to unity or conciliation?
That's not, that type of rhetoric is unbecoming of the office that many may hold. And so one of the things that we must remember, and I remember this in my tenure in serving in the House before I came over to the state Senate, one of the things that Speaker David Ralston shared with me was that the House must always be in order and that there was a level of decorum to the body. And that's why we had rules. And he encouraged me to read the rule book. And so in reading the rule book, the Senate rules say that the senators must govern themselves at all time with the best in conduct. And so I would encourage my other elected officials that when you do hold an office, especially a public office you've been elected to, you have to remember the office that you hold, the pulpit that you stand in. While it may not be the sacred desk that I would preach from, each of us have a pulpit, and that pulpit is leveraging our voice to the general public, John Q. Public. We must make sure that whatever we do and say is becoming of the office that we hold. We cannot speak without having the facts. We cannot address a situation that we are ignorant of. We must call for unity. We must tone down the rhetoric. And what we have to do is show that the office we hold, we're fit to hold it. And you do so by having decorum. You do so by having statesmanship. And that's the best way forward in what's happened recently.
State Senator Derek Mallow from District 2, Democrat. Senator, thank you for your time and your insight. Gosh, Chris, it was about, 14 hours ago. We went live to Butler, Pennsylvania to talk to CBS News correspondent Scott MacFarlane, who had a firsthand account of the assassination attempt. We go back live now to Scott MacFarlane. Scott, you've had, good 12 hours to marinate on what you saw yesterday at that Trump rally, the assassination attempt. What has come to your mind freshly now as we've turned the page the next morning?
What a monumental, staggering failure at what should have been a uniquely secure event, a historically secure event, that thousands of people have to run from gunshots, that a former president would be wounded, one of his supporters killed, others injured, and untold damage to the fabric and fiber of America. And all of this should have been preventable. And people walked in there as early as 7 a.m. yesterday to make sure they were in the right place to get that good seat, the one up front. We all went through magnetometers, all had our bags checked, all walked around with a sense that this is an impregnable area where we can bring our kids in some cases. Rally goers had their kids there. And I can't unhear the screams of those kids and the people panicking when gunshots erupted. And what was noticeable from my vantage point, I was up on an elevated rafter where the media cameras are, so I had the luxury of somewhere to hide beneath those rafters, beneath the elevated stage. These people in the crowd were shoulder to shoulder, jammed in like sardines and had nowhere to go. And I can't imagine that isn't weighing on them as they hear the gunshots play back on all the videos, as they hear the screams play back on all the videos. It is just a haunting thing.
And how about you? Have you been able to watch any of that video or listen to any of that audio? Have you processed in being in the line of fire there, literally?
Well, there's a troubling number of Americans who are quite familiar with what being part of an active shooting is like, and I don't want to say this without being mindful of them, but gunshots don't sound like they do in the movies. It sounded so much more innocuous, like it was firecrackers. At first, we weren't too jolted, but when you saw the former president go down, you recognize this is something quite sinister and dangerous, and people just colliding into each other, trying to find somewhere to go is a hard image to shake, too. This was all so preventable, and that is going to dog anybody who had responsibility and failed.
Scott MacFarlane joining us live on 95.5 WSB, firsthand account of the presidential assassination. Have you been able to go back, retrieve any gear that you left at the scene yesterday, or is it still an active crime scene?
No, it's not. It's still an active crime scene, so no, we were not able to go back and get our stuff, which is, it's a minor inconvenience. Some TV equipment is replaceable. The extra bag you brought is replaceable. But I think it's important to underscore it. I'm glad you asked, because it shows this is an active, unique crime scene in American history. Each hour that goes by here in Butler County, Pennsylvania, the road closures get wider, or there are more of them, and more law enforcement seems to arrive at the scene as each hour goes by. And let me paint a picture of Butler County, Pennsylvania. It's the northern county above Pittsburgh, but it's deep beet red. This is a county Trump won 2-1 in 2020. It's suburban, in the south part. It's got the coffee shops and the townhouses. But when you get up here in the more northern section of the county, it's rural. The event was staged at a big farm fairgrounds, which should be self-explanatory. It's where they have the farm show. It's where you bring your family to see a show in the grandstand. And there were so many families here yesterday. It was a Saturday. It's at the fairgrounds. This was a family event. No matter your politics, people brought their kids. And no kid should ever have to see or hear that.
Scott, it's Chris Chandler here in Atlanta as well. It's quite all right if you haven't, I understand, but have you seen any of the reaction from your normal beat out of Congress in Washington, and what have you made of any of it?
Yeah, let's skim away the crud on the surface, where there are some politicized reactions going through, and conspiracy theories even among the congressional leaders or congressional members. And that's unforgivable at this stage, and it's relatively easy for me as a Congress watcher and congressional correspondent to ignore that. But what seems consistent and unequivocal is that Congress wants hearings. There was a failure of a baseline function of government. And though Congress is not in session next week because there's a Republican convention going on, those investigations begin now. Those requests for information, likely eventually subpoenas, begin now. And there are already Republican calls for the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, who has oversight over Secret Service, to resign. Leave the political problems of that aside for a minute. There's an investigation Congress is mandated to undertake. That is their role, to oversee the federal agencies, and it begins right away.
And I presume from everything you have said last night and this morning that the biggest questions you have about any of this are not so much necessarily with the crime itself or the suspect, but more along the lines of how in the world was this allowed to happen?
With the assumption that this criminal investigation doesn't get wider, Chris, that it doesn't involve some other players we don't know about yet. And the local DA here says it looks like this criminal investigation is going to be limited to trying to figure out a motive. Put that aside. The questions that are going to dog this moment in American history is how can, in America, at a time we are all quite aware of the threat of political violence, nobody was flat-footed on the idea somebody might try to attack a political leader in America in 2024. How can you let such a vulnerability exist? We sitting and standing in the media staging area, even in the chairs the spectators used, we could see the tops of buildings. I could see a Mazda dealership right ahead of me where I was sitting waiting for the former president to speak. How somebody in protective details or somebody in law enforcement didn't see the top of a shed that was a football field away is a question somebody needs to answer for somebody.
Scott MacFarlane, live from Pennsylvania. Man, if you can swing it, we'd love to have you at your regular time tomorrow morning and get your perspectives as well. But we'll definitely be back in touch, sir.
Count on it. Talk to you then.
Scott, I'm glad you saved that press pass yesterday. I meant to ask you about it last night. A little piece of history there for you to tuck away.
I don't know if I want to throw it away, burn it, or put it in the Smithsonian. I'll decide that over the next few hours.
Hold on to it, my friend. It's a piece of history. Scott MacFarlane, CBS. Chris, what's coming up next?
Eric Erickson. Well, we'll hear from the newsroom here at noon. Get the latest if you're just joining us or have been away for a few hours. We'll have the headlines right from the top. There's considerable new information over this last couple hours. Then Eric Erickson live noon until at least 5 o'clock this afternoon, Mark. We are live all through the afternoon.